Chairman Myjack,
I'm here with my
Vice
microphone
Chairwoman Thompson,
Here.
Member Burdette,
Here.
Member Tucker, Member Miller, Member Delgado,
Here.
Member Nico,
Here.
Alternate Member Young,
Young. Here.
Alternate Member Rosa.
Here.
I'd say we have a quorum, so would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty. Next up is the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, but I have a change.
Oh, that's okay. Is there a second to her motion with a change?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Let's have some discussion.
Okay, so Lori, on page 4 of 7, in the minutes of the last paragraph, it says, I spoke in favor of not using the Landscape Trust Fund to kick off the initial urban forest management plan. I actually spoke in favor of using the Landscape Trust Fund to kick off the initial urban forest management plan. That was the only thing I saw. And by the way, good job on the minutes.
Yes.
That was an awful lot to try to digest and pull out of the tape, and you did a really, really good job, as usual. Thank you.
Any other discussions for our minutes? Well, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? Passes unanimously. Moving on from the minutes. Petitions and requests from the public. Hello, Stan. Welcome. Long time no see.
Stan Johnston. I'll show you a picture. This is a picture outside my house of two bald eagles. And they're perched together, and they would sometimes stay overnight. And this happened for a period of about 5 years. They were, that picture was taken, I was just a few steps out of my yard. It's just nice to know that we still have some wildlife around here. I want to talk to you about something that is not very pleasant. It's about this poster I wrote about Brad Parrish, and it says dangerous regarding money, and I wrote here sustainability fraud. So I want to talk to you about the fraud that the city of Titusville is committing regarding sustainability. So in 2018, 2019, I joined a group in a workshop regarding resiliency and sustainability at the city of Titusville. And I gave numerous presentations as a professional engineer that the city of Titusville is not sustainable because of the stormwater master plan is not being implemented. And that's talking about millions and millions of dollars of not implementing. Not only that, but it includes the drainage to the St. Johns River, in which the city does not even inspect or maintain or have maintained those legal positive outfalls, which is illegal, and it's against our FEMA floodplains and so forth. So I made that point many times and had things in writing. So after we had all this workshop, which Mike was there also, is that they presented us a sustainability plan called Resilient Titusville 2019, which is false. It was false because it had omissions of everything that I said, everything. It was all wrong. So I went to Human Resources and complained to Mr. De Niro and Brad Parrish about this. And Brad Parrish went ahead. He confessed to the crime. I say crime. In other words, it was fraud. In other words, it's fraud. This is fraud. is what the report. So he admitted to it, and he agreed to go ahead and put an addendum in at the end, which was a affidavit regarding what I had spoken of, an affidavit of the city of Titusville not doing its due diligence to fund the master plan, stormwater plan. So now that plan, which had an addendum, now it's gone. The addendum is gone. And the new sustainability plan by, I believe it's Lilly here, has the same thing. It has the same fraud. The same fraud. We're talking about, I'm not talking about $1 million or so. I'm talking about millions of dollars in fraud by the city of Titusville. And by the way, let me say this, is that doesn't mean that all these, our city managers were corrupt. It doesn't mean that. I say for a large part is that they were never notified of it. So those who were in, and to my knowledge, I believe some of the people who are in charge of the Stormwater Master Plan did not know about it either. For example, Sean Stauffer. In 2012, I met Sean Stauffer, who was in charge of all this stormwater. And I talked to him about the master plan. He said he'd never seen it before, where he's in charge as a professional engineer. So what was the city doing? What the city was doing is ignored completely. It's a big money project. It's big money, and it's millions of dollars, and so let's not consider it. Some people knew about it, some people didn't. So I'm just sharing this with you, and I'm sharing with you right now that the sustainability report right now that you have, the city is using, is fraud. I'm serious, it's fraud. And I would entertain any professional engineer who would disagree with me, because it's not the truth. So that's what you got. Any questions?
Member Thompson?
So the city is working on a new stormwater master plan, the study by Geosyntec of the existing issues. So do you anticipate that potentially the new stormwater master plan, when it comes out, it will correct the past transgressions that I admit, they have been ignored by the city, but do you think that the new plan is going to correct the mistakes of the past?
Thank you for the question, Laura Lee. And what I see is that right now is that I don't believe Geosyntec will come and disagree with me, because you know that what I'll do, I'll report them to the board for dishonesty. So Geosyntec doing it right now, it appears to me, is what the city is doing. It's just another cover-up. It's a cover-up of what city has done in the past, and it's not considering what I just told you about the fraud in the past. Now, not only does this fraud include this stormwater master plan, but it also includes the freshwater management study, which has dams that were constructed that are illegal. They don't have the 2 dams at the senior center. They were approved by the city and St. Johns River Water Management District without calculations, without compensatory storage, without a survey of how it affects the lands that are flooded. So we have, what I'm sharing with you is a horrible picture of the city of Titusville has not been doing things correctly. They're doing things incorrectly.
But the Geosyntec, if they're doing their job correctly, should identify things that happened in the past and recommend measures to correct the things that happened in the past that were wrong.
Exactly. In fact,
that should be the goal of Geosyntec right now. I mean, you can't really do anything about what happened in the past.
Yes, you can.
You can fix it.
You can recognize it. You see, right now, it appears to me the city is intentionally not recognizing the flooding by the dams. They're not recognizing the inspection that the city did not inspect, did not maintain, and filed a fraudulent sustainability report. That's a big deal. So the city, I think that the first thing that the city should do, and Geosyntec do, is acknowledge problems with the city that the city has right now that are not acknowledged. In other words, this is a big deal when you do a budget concerning millions of dollars for the city and you don't include stormwater, as shown in the Stormwater Master Plan. It's a tremendous fraud that the city is committing right now. And so, as far as I'm concerned, Geosyntec is also. And Lily's in on it too, because she didn't report it either.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Kay, do you have anything to say under petitions and requests?
Thank you.
No?
No, just on this agenda.
Okay, then we'll move on to the urban forest management plan again. We had a whopping total of one change, I understand.
So, yeah, and I wanted to speak to that from the last meeting, and quite literally, we've been working with the consultant up until, or I have been emailing her up until probably 15 minutes ago. So that initial draft that's attached to your agenda that was like her first take, and then we had a back and forth, and then I believe she went on vacation, came back Monday. We've had another back and forth. So it's still evolving, but eventually I had to capture something for the sake of showing you what we've understood. And I literally just finished this like 15 minutes ago, but I have a little summary handout that I can pass out. Oh.
Thank you. Yeah.
Doing it merry way, I guess. We're growing down to the deadline.
We learned this in kindergarten.
So with all the feedback of the folks that were in the room, I tried my best to summarize those into just general topics and then general recommendations related to those. Some back and forth with the consultant, and then an overview of the staff reply. So try to put that in a table format. The overall general consensus was from staff is just make it more vague language, remove the number and thresholds from diversity, while still keeping the intent of diversity without having like a set number in the plan. Update the native species to 75%. That stayed. The stormwater credit, again, keep it as a recommendation, but not a formal requirement. The policy ordinance recommendations, I'm still going back and forth with her on that, but in this exact moment, it's more of looking at it as an evaluation or an analysis as opposed to a recommendation. And then with the length or shortening the document, I had also recommended that we keep the length, as just shortening it wasn't going to change the intensity of the implementation. And for someone who also has to carry out a action plan similar to this in sustainability, it does help to have more details rather than fewer, especially in those appendices when you go back and ask yourself, why was this there? What was said? And then the online survey, we did try to push, this was, I believe, Jason's recommendation to push out for the general public. And that was still getting some traction even after the date closed. So I kept it open, but I think all in all, we had 10 respondents. So it wasn't like a ton. So I didn't know if you even bothered or wanted to see it, or I have some printouts from that too. Up to you. A lot of it was like agreeing with, they want the plan, they like it as is, removing the diversity, as well as also having, including fines for cutting trees, which is also in your natural resources plan. So all of those suggestions were also captured, and we're still working on recommendations on how to put that in the plan as of right now. So that's kind of where we're at. So all that to say, the snapshot that is in your agenda packet was a freeze frame from a week ago, and there's been a lot of change since then.
Yes, Member Thompson?
So, I think this is scheduled to go to, I don't have my phone with me, I forgot it. I think June 9th. Are we still on track to get it to, I mean, I think that the TEC should have another look at it before it goes to city council. If there's additional changes that are coming, and I really appreciate what you've done here, because it takes care of a lot of my concerns. Should we push out the date that it's going to go to the city council into maybe July so that we have another chance to look at it?
You could. The problem with that is only the contract with the consultant terminates. So they won't be able to present it.
You should be able to do a no-cost extension on the contract.
We are at an extension. I submitted a 6-month. It was supposed to end in December, and now it ends in June.
How can we vote on something that we haven't seen?
We can, well,
But that's all I want to know.
you could have her present it, but ask for no action at the time. She can still present it and not just say, have presentation from all the work that has been done, but
Who's
that team-
presenting what? What are we, who
The consultant,
is presenting to whom?
to council.
Before we've
But
given it a thumbs up?
TEC could theoretically make the recommendation to just not tell council, like, we're not saying we're gonna approve this right now, but here's your presentation of how it ended up so far, and we're still workshopping it, or, you know what I'm saying?
I don't like that.
Okay, you don't have to.
I
That
want
was
to
just
be
a
able to have a
suggestion.
directive to council, but I want to see what we're directing, you know? I don't
Right.
think we should be putting the cart before the horse.
Right, you can make the direction at a later date. It's just if you want the person who did the work and making it to present it without asking for council to make any sort of action on it, she can still do that while it's under contract.
Could we do a presentation session at the 5:30 council meeting on the urban forest management plan by the author? And then we can have another month to review and vote on it?
I think. Is that a
That's what I'm
CR
trying to
meeting?
clarify that in my head, so.
Are you talking about May 26th is the only meeting that the city council has for a 5:30 meeting? Is that what you're asking for?
Well, yeah, I mean, if she's ready to present, it sounds like you're close, right?
She'll present it on June 9th to city council, but if you're asking for an additional opportunity to be presented in some form to a board.
What I'm suggesting is that the June 9th city council be presented at 5:30, not at 6:30.
There's a CRA meeting at 5:30.
Presentations are the second meeting of the month.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it's inappropriate to send it to council before we've had a chance to thoroughly vet it.
Then that would be your recommendation, that they do not approve this because you don't see it complete. But either way, we won't have the consultant beyond that time frame.
So the consultant would do a presentation to the council and say, this is where we're at. My contract's ending. I just wanted, the consultant wanted to present it to the council. However, the TEC and staff will continue to work on it before we ask for approval. Is that the plan?
That doesn't necessarily have to be an approval. If you want to make a recommendation to council to approve it at some point, you can do that. If you don't believe it's appropriate for them to approve anything on June 9th, and basically just to hear the presentation from the consultant with any recommendations you may have as far as changes and any recommendations that we may have from staff, a council can consider that and just take that information as is. And then it'll be staff will be making changes to this possibly later on, if you then want to ask for council to make a formal adoption of any sort later on. Either way, though, that consultant will be completing their task by mid-June.
And we have the latitude to make any changes to it that we want to, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
this
we don't-
document is
yeah.
not concrete. I mean, this is essentially a policy guide for the city for budgeting purposes in the future, so you can choose and reprioritize what you see in here as part of your recommendations to city council as part of their annual budget. And so you don't, if there's something in here you want to change, you could always make that recommendation. That could be changed in the future as well. So when council sees this on June 9th, it doesn't necessarily have to be the last time they see it.
What about all the references to the Public Works Department? Because I know there was a lot of heartburn about that. What's going on with that?
That's one of the staff recommendations that haven't been working back and forth with her today on, was just to have a department note at the beginning that reads, Public Works is noted as a responsible department and serves as a stand-in for the future urban forestry position. Potential future organizational changes such as the establishment of a Parks and Rec department may further affect these assignments. Even with potential changes, Public Works should remain an essential partner where infrastructure interfaces with the urban forest. So it was more so saying that they're the lead right now, but if there's a different department that's spun up as a result of this, that they would become the lead, and Public Works would take the secondary part.
Sorry.
So I don't see what you just read to us in this piece of paper. So
Right.
Will we see a copy of?
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't want to take the risk of presenting this to the city council and then having the Public Works Department say, we don't support this plan.
Well, Public Works is going to say that they have X amount of capacity. They will say that, and that has to be said. And every department will probably say that. And if you ask for resources to do Y, then something else has to give if there's only a finite amount of dollars and resources and staff that Public Works has. And also just be aware, Public Works is actually understaffed right now.
Yeah, we know that.
So they're going to present that and state that to city council. It's not saying they don't support this. It's just saying that this is just a capacity issue. And that council has to be aware of that.
But the idea of adding this sort of disclaimer in there was the intent to kind of find a middle ground for that, or pose some solution with that.
Right, we suggested that because we thought, the consultant said that most communities will have a recreation department. So we wanted to identify on here where those particular responsibilities would have generally fallen under that particular department if we had one. And so when you look at it, when we get that version from her, we should be able to say that when we start trying to budget on an annual basis for any kind of additional resources, that there may be a consideration to create an additional division within Public Works or some other department, whatever that might be. But just to identify that these areas are typically responsible of a recreation department, which we just currently do not have. So she's suggesting that the only fallback right now at this point is going to be Public Works. But we just wanted to identify where that could be. We never know what might happen in the future as far as annual budget. Maybe 10 years from now, something might be different.
It's a starting point, I gather.
Okay, can I?
Yes, please, go ahead, Hector.
Okay, so all this is fine, but we talked about the window for the budget, which is either coming up or already passed sometime in May, right?
The budget process is going on now. The city manager will propose his budget in July, I believe. There's a specific date, I don't recall which one.
So,
But I remember what I said the last meeting was, we're coming very close to that point where it's going to be difficult for him to kind of squeeze in a large request into this year's budget. But even before we start budgeting and actually implementing the plan, there are 3 things we have to do first, which will take some time and possibly the time that we necessary in order to get up to the year 2027 budget proposal. And that is, just to remind you, is the tree inventory, which we had got a grant for, which we're going to try and process if we can.
Coordinator.
The coordinator identifying someone who can do that, and potentially that's on someone on staff. And then the third person, as far as grant monitoring and project monitoring. And then the third one was the revisions potentially to the urban forest, the landscape trust fund.
No, that was a fee, I believe. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Never mind.
So those three things could potentially be handled internally by staff without having an increasing of the budget. So we anticipate that really to start implementing this, we have to complete those three steps according to this plan, and we really won't start budgeting anything until fiscal year 2027, which will start in January. Until then, if you want to make a formal recommendation to City Council to start setting aside budget requests right now into this year's budget, I just wanted to forewarn you that it might be very tight. Something else might have to give, and the city manager will have to make a decision or a proposal. He may or may not accept it. But if council accepts it, if your recommendation goes to them, then he's going to have to find a way to put it into the budget this year, or for this upcoming 2026 year. October 1, the new fiscal year that he'll propose in July. Is just that something else will have to give. He'll have to tell them that something else had to be reduced, whatever that is.
And I understand, and that's where I was going. We don't have a placeholder for this. So therefore, it's gonna keep moving up to the next year, no matter what.
Right.
And so the chain will never form because you don't have a placeholder that they can talk about and either move it or not, but it's clear that there's a placeholder. So wouldn't it be wise, budget-wise, to put a placeholder now and have them say, we can't do it? And then that's already on the budget list for next year as a
So
possible
you're
candidate.
suggesting a line item with $0?
Yeah, a line item.
$0.
I was just going through the minutes from the last meeting, and that's what we had talked about. You had brought it up,
Exactly.
actually, and we discussed it, and then we dropped it. But I think, I agree with Hector's, we should probably consider using that. We need to get it kicked off somewhere.
Otherwise, we're
So-
behind,
And we
every year.
can use the Tree City USA, 2% per capita as this is what we're requesting. And that go in the budget out of the general fund to get things kicked off this year. And then next year in because the budget that they're talking about in July is for next January. So it's got to get in now, not next January. Will mean it won't happen until the January after, as Hector's saying. It's just
That's my point.
That's another year lost, and that's too much.
So we can use the landscape trust fund, money from the landscape trust fund to get everything kicked off and get it started and get it organized. But I agree, I think Hector has a good point. We asked the city manager to put it in the budget as a $0 for this year. But then it's in the budget and he can be thinking about, how we're gonna fund it for next year. We may have to use the landscape trust fund again, but at least it's in the budget so that it's there, looking at them every year. And it becomes part of the budget process.
Is that sorry, go ahead.
When I got my copy of this, I read it through it and looking at money, thinking about money, one of the issues we've always had here about an arborist, that there was two people that were staff members or arborists, but they're so busy doing other things that they don't get much time to do arborism. Is that the right word? I don't know. I'm an engineer.
You
I can't
commit
speak
arborism,
English.
yes.
So I went and thought, well, I heard that this guy Jacob was an arborist, but in the report here, it doesn't call him as an arborist. It says Development Services Technician. So I had a meeting with him, and he told me that his name is misspelled. Okay? So I said, so did you read it? And he said, well, I know it exists, and I saw it. Then you didn't catch your name until I showed you that his name was misspelled in it. I found two other misspellings when I read it, so somebody may want to do a spell check Okay? But what I presented him was, if he doesn't have the time to do it because you're understaffed, and you're underfunded and everything, I agree with them that we need to have it in an item, we need to get it approved, and then as you got this grant to do this tree thing, let's let the world take care of itself, that if we make a plan and move forward, things may fall in place, the funding may fall in place, the grant may come. So I offered to him the idea that if he told me his credentials, he was a licensed, got a degree, he keeps his license active and so forth. So I says, well, what if you just did the brain work and you got an intern student to do the leg work? So I was thinking there's other ways that we can fund things and do things, but we need to put this approved and move forward as is and work out the funding as you got this one grant. There may be more grants and more ways of getting the funding. Let's move forward on this, put it in the budget and fix these misspelled words, and the idea of that maybe in the future we can get an intern arborist who's learning and going to school to be at the direction of Jacob, which then would save you money, but get the work done. So I'm okay with slipping schedules, but if you're not committed to the program and have its timelines in like it's supposed to, like part of this year in the budget, whether you're going to put $0 with it or what, that we need to have it become official and a real legitimate program, then we can figure out what to do with time and money. So I hate to slip a year or something, but if to slip a year before you ever do anything, that's terrible. Let's get it locked in. And then if we have to because we have 5-year chunks, right? 5 years for this chunk and 5 years for that chunk. So we can make adjustments in the future. So that was my idea was, do you hire interns that you could do arborist with this guy and have him be the oversee of this and fix the spelling of his name?
So that is a thought. One thing I was mentioning, that this document doesn't necessarily have to be locked in stone in any form that it goes before council. It can be a living document that you can update over time in terms of who takes what role. Jacob has the certification as an arborist, but he's not the urban forester. He can take parts of it and we can share parts of it and work toward, like we are now. We're currently working towards parts of these implementation plans without having a dedicated urban forester, something that we're still trying to figure out. But yeah, I'm getting an intern. That's something that we can still take bites out of this plan, like what you're saying, and piecemeal it.
Well, in trying to find funds for this program long-term, since last night's meeting, the council agreed on putting a hold on the funds for the feasibility landscape project at the different gateways. Initially, those funds were not appropriated correctly just because that came out of the Landscape Trust Fund, and we realized that those monies should be diverted differently. And so with that being on hold and that $78,000 available, perhaps, that could be used for what it's intended for, to kickstart this project.
I think we need an urban forester. I mean, Jacob has his own work that he's doing in the planning department. I don't think he can't be running the forestry program and still be doing what he does as a city planner. I mean, that's what he is. We need a dedicated urban forester to take a hold of the program and help us get it started. And there's $800,000 in the Landscape Trust Fund. And so we can use some of that money in the Landscape Trust Fund to hire an urban forester and get this program started. And, then as time goes by, we can find other funding sources. But I don't see anything wrong with recommended to the city council that we take some of that money and hire an urban forester and let's get this thing going.
What we said last time, the motion by member Nico and seconded by myself for the amendment was to request a line item of $100,000 to the general fund. Member Thompson then suggested that that might be a deal breaker for city council. Maybe perhaps a motion entertaining using the landscape trust fund as the source for the first 2% per capita be requested to fund this, to kick off this program, starting with this next budget cycle. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You want to make another motion? And okay.
Well, then I will make the motion then to make a line item for the, from the Landscape Trust Fund to kickstart off this urban forestry management plan. These funds will be allocated hopefully to hire an urban forester. As to the actual dollar amount, I would need some guidance on that. I only mentioned the $78,000 because that was offset last night from another intended project, and I thought, well, that would be a good idea to use that instead of getting into the other 800,000 if that were an issue. But back to my motion.
Tree City USA recommends 2% per capita, which will put it, well, 2%.
Okay.
2% of per capita is
So using the funds from the Tree City USA, the
Landscape Trust Fund
okay, the Landscape Trust Fund, 2% per capita
per Tree City
revenue
USA.
that's made each year.
Yes.
From
I'll
the-
second that motion.
Okay.
You got that one figured out?
Sorry about that.
So that was the $2 per capita, the 100,000. I think that's how that came out from the previous motion.
That's right.
Yeah, that we had at the last discussion, and then
Yeah,
Laura, but not from the general fund, just from the landscape trust fund, is what you're saying.
that's what we're saying
That's
this
the
time.
difference. Okay.
That's the
I'm tracking.
difference. And
Yes.
then let's have some discussion. Yes.
Yeah, so the $2 per capita is just a shell game that the city plays every year by saying that they are dedicating $100,000 a year to their regular maintenance plan that they have to do anyway. And so this would be a little bit different because we would be actually dedicating $100,000, which is equal to the $2 per capita, but it's actually it actually is coming from a funding source, which is the landscape tree
Trust
fund,
right.
or landscape trust fund. The city would still be doing the regular maintenance that they always have to do. They just won't be calling the maintenance that they're doing to maintain the trees in the city. They're not calling it the Tree City USA. Tree City USA would actually have a real funding source for the first time in history that would be coming from the Landscape Trust Fund instead of just this shell game of saying we're spending $50,000 trimming trees and $25,000 removing trees, and they just come up with enough items to equal the $100,000, and they turn that in every year as their $2 per capita.
This would make it a separate budget item and would need a separate accounting for how the funds would get spent. So I don't think they can get merged in. They shouldn't be. I know. Lily? What do
No,
you
I
have
was
to say?
going to ask because the plan has a separate plan for the landscape trust fund and how that was recommended to use that money. Would you sunset this at some point, in which you would have to find a different funding mechanism in order to carry out the suggestions that was put in here?
I think what we're looking at is just something to get started. Right now, there's funds sitting in that fund that could be used this first interim year. I think following, it should be done out of the general fund. That's the way other cities did it, and that's the way the plan called for it. So this way, it's a soft blow to the budget for next year because there are funds dedicated to put trees back into the community, and we can have access to those. So to me, that makes the most sense.
Okay, so a term for a year.
Hector?
Sorry.
Lily,
Yep.
if we don't establish a line item, all this is conversation,
Right.
like it is every year. So what we need to do is establish a line item that gets funded from the source that we just talked about.
Right. I'm not
And
disagreeing with
that
you.
way- Wait a minute. And
Sorry.
that way, it's a unique line item with a funding source. Okay? And that's how this thing has got to move forward.
Right.
Because otherwise, it's conversation. So first is establishing the line item. Okay? And we need to, it has to have a name. And then the funding source, we already know what it is. That is where it's coming from. And that is how it's got to show in the budget.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen that way, it's conversation.
Okay.
Do you have any comments, Kay or Mary, since we didn't ask for cards on this topic that we're about to vote on? If you wish to make a comment, please come up. If not, we'll go forward with our vote. We're not done with the Landscape Trust Fund. It's just this one particular issue about the money. That's all we're talking about right now. If you're in agreement with where we are, then that's good.
I am in agreement. Use the Landscape Trust Fund to get the program started. Yes, to hire an urban forester and get the program started. Liz said that we must have a coordinator to get started, so that's what we need. So let's use that Landscape Trust Fund and give him a salary and get going.
Okay. Mary? No? Yes? Okay. Well, any other discussion? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Member Young,
Yes.
Member Burdette,
Yes.
Member Delgado,
Yes. but-
Member Nico,
Yep.
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
Yes.
Member Rosa,
Yes.
Chairman Majek.
Yes.
But I haven't, I want to hear what everyone is voting on. We're voting on establishing a line item on the budget
Right,
or in the budget.
for $100,000,
And that is going to be funded from,
the Landscape Trust Fund.
okay? We got to put labels.
Initially, yes.
We got to put labels. Otherwise, it's going to get diluted.
Okay.
Okay? So it's got to be a straightforward thing. If we don't establish the line item, nothing happens.
So Lori can read it back to us and make sure.
Okay, so Lori, I think that's what everyone was voting on, was the establishment of a line item in the present budget going forward that is funded by the tree fund. Everybody okay? All right,
So your vote stands?
and Brad?
This is for the upcoming fiscal year, correct?
Yes.
Yes. it's-
Yeah.
It would be nice if I can walk them back, but that's another argument.
We can't go back to last summer.
If you got money, you can always go back.
So I have a question. The city council workshop that they kept referring to last night that's coming up at the end of the month, is that open to the public or is that a private workshop for the city council?
I am not certain at this point on that, but if they're planning on discussing any items that might come before them in future council meetings pursuant to sunshine law, it would be required to be public.
So when and where is it?
You talking about the retreat?
We'll have to find out for you.
Okay. Well, back to the Landscape Trust Fund. With regards to the page, the first page you handed us out, Lily, in the bottom corner, you talk about stormwater credit, and you want the TEC to clarify the rationale for the recommendation. I had mentioned Vinnie Toronto, in the work that he did in Indian Atlantic. I just got those materials yesterday. I have not had a chance to review them. But I think that they will provide a good foundation for why we need to be doing like they're doing and putting swales and rain gardens everywhere we can in the city to help control stormwater.
Yeah, I did reach out to him about giving that presentation as well. I haven't heard back yet.
Okay, but that's kind of the gist of it, is if we're putting in swales and rain gardens, then then we have the chance, the opportunity to plant trees to increase our urban forest. And that goes hand in hand with stormwater and forest. And that's why I thought this was important, because that's also why I handed this book out last week, the Stormwater to Street Trees program that's put out by EPA, right? And they have a whole list in here of the benefits that trees have in stormwater, and not the least of which it reduces the throughfall because it catches on the leaves and stuff, you know. The interception factor is not to be ignored. And we don't, the way our system is structured right now for the way we're managing stormwater and paying for stormwater fees, it doesn't lend itself to improvements of this magnitude where we could really benefit in the stormwater side and at the same side grow the shade and the canopy and increase the air quality and et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that it's, you guys tossed it aside, I would agree with making this a living document, even though we didn't author it. I'm a bit concerned about that in some degree because, you know, it doesn't take a bad chemist can really mess up a very good, you know, so I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. I think having the plan and then working the plan is what we need to be doing. The plan as it's written sets us up for a 5-year cycle where each cycle you create a new 5-year outlook and a 5-year plan, and that is part of what the whole first year is going to be to develop. But I don't think thinking this is going to be a living document is the right solution. I think this is the plan, and the implementation, the instance of this document is what we need to be working on living. And that's where we need an arborist and all the other people involved. So I'm disappointed that you didn't consider more, but I will provide that information, and I hope we can get Vinny here this summer. Is there any possibility that I can zoom into our meetings when we're eating, when I'm in Maine?
I can try. I can ask.
Okay. We have the technology. And I got a fiber optic to the cabin, so I don't think that's going to be a problem anymore. So
You can watch it on YouTube and text us.
you can watch it on YouTube anywhere. I just can't talk because.
You can text us.
So I guess we're going to have some cards maybe on the landscape management plan. You want to continue? Okay, let's go back and finish talking, and then we'll.
Lily, on the first one that you gave us, that starts with species and native requirements on the first line, the staff reply was fine, except for one word. At the 75, maintaining flexibility for appropriate non-native species. Yet on the TEC suggested size,
Yeah, that was a typo.
it's the same number except for flexibility for select non-native.
And that would be in the remaining 25%, Hector.
No, I understand, but who selects?
The urban forester and then us, I guess. I mean, we're the tree board.
Okay, if you look at the staff reply versus the TEC suggested edit, okay, on the staff side, I have a feeling that that's where the selection is going to happen.
Staff's going to do the selecting.
Or someone in planning, or someone in zoning, or someplace like that.
I thought we came up with an approved plant list, and then it's up to the developer to choose what plants of what type go where. And as long as he meets a 75% native requirement, then that leaves him 25% for anything else, appropriate or off the plant list. Let's say that, right?
And that approved
Walk
plant
yourself
list
into that
is 67% native, so they've got 33% of non-native that are on the approved plant list to choose from.
How much more do you need? That's more than 25%.
It is not, in my case, it is not the percentage, it's 25% no matter what, but who makes the selection? What is appropriate and who selects it? Who selects the appropriate?
I guess it would depend on what they're doing, but it would ultimately be the urban forester who's managing the plan. So it's like if they're planning in the park and they have to do 75% native, but some people want fruit trees, then they would pick which
Yeah,
fruit trees.
I understand the fruit trees.
Yeah.
Skip that. Go back to the selection of words. Okay. On the suggested size, it says flexibility for select native species. Okay, while allowing for select non-native. That means that there is a list of select non-natives. On the other side, you have just the word appropriate, and it doesn't qualify where they're coming from.
It's amorphous, nebulous.
Yeah,
It's not finite.
So you want to
Keep going.
change the word appropriate
Well,
to,
who decides what's appropriate now? So we just kick the ball down the road again.
Okay.
Whereas the select gets back to the list of trees that we've already identified in our urban
Okay,
forest
you got
plan.
on to where I was going.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you want to,
Slow train
you want to substitute the word select for, appropriate for the word select. You want to take out the
If-
word
if that's-
appropriate and put
if
select?
that's what we think.
And we're implying that select would come from the 33% of non-native trees that are in our landscape technical manual?
Right. As outlined in, maybe you can even write that in, as outlined in the technical
If I
manual.
need a Ouija board to do this, then I fail. It's got to be clear. And appropriate is a selection of the universe.
That's right. It's,
So if everybody's happy with that, then just know that that's what you're agreeing to. And select is out of the picture.
comment from staff?
And again, I'm looking for comments from anybody.
I think this for me was just an exercise to try and clarify what I heard that day. And the reason the openness was discussed was because of fruit trees. I think the intent of this line item is just in the plan to change it from 50 to 75. Then ultimately what it's gonna end up applying as. But if you want me to change this, I don't think this is gonna make it into the plan, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Again, to me, it's clarity of what is being asked, that's all. If somebody's building something, they need to know, can I just go to Lowe's and buy 25% of something?
That's typically done with a landscape plan. They prove it with the species that's listed on the landscape plan and the placement of that. We review that and we verify. So there's a threshold they have to meet, 50%, whatever that is.
Okay.
50% of those species have to be selected as native.
Then so stated,
Yeah, and that's,
then so stated.
well, this is a policy, this is just a summary of your discussion, of what you're recommending to be
Correct.
changed in here. And this, as a change in the recommendations of this plan.
I
If
understand.
this is adopted, then we'll make changes to the code accordingly if this is adopted.
Okay. I just thought I'd bring it up for discussion.
Anybody else?
Yeah, on the species diversity requirement, it said that the TEC suggested eliminating the species diversity requirement. I don't think we were not happy with the percentages. We have to have species diversity. I mean, you can't just plant all the same tree. And I think you have to look at the neighborhoods where they are and plant the trees that are gonna survive in the soil type. Like you wouldn't be planting cypress trees down on South Barn Avenue near the well field, because they wouldn't survive.
No,
You'd-
that's zero.
But I don't think it was our intent to eliminate the species diversity. We just weren't happy with that 10, 20,
30 part.
30% thing, which has appeared numerous times in the document still. We'd like to see that 10, 20, 30% suggestion removed. Yeah.
Sure, Kate, come on up.
I looked it up. The 10, 20, 30 urban forest Diversity Guideline originates from U.S. National Arboretum researcher Frank Santamore's 1990 urban forestry recommendations developed in response to catastrophic losses from Dutch elm disease and similar pest outbreaks. The guideline is intended to improve urban forest resilience by avoiding over-reliance on closely related tree taxa. Although widely adopted as an industry standard, the percentages are considered management targets rather than empirically derived scientific thresholds. So it's just a rule of thumb. The 10, 20, 30 species diversity requirement in the urban forest management plan, in my opinion, needs to be adjusted to accommodate the role of the live oaks in providing tree canopy and supporting wildlife in Titusville. Yes, we need to plant, when we get to planting, we need to provide diversity. Our tree team always chose 2 different trees to plant at any given time. So we got free live oaks, but we would have to buy the other alternative, but we always found a donation so that we would have 2 choices, two different plantings. But southern live oaks live for 2 centuries and up to 1,000 years old, and they can stand up to brutal winds and thrive in various soil types. A professional arborist can catch the problems before they turn into live oak diseases and save you from having to replace valuable live oaks. The problem is too few dedicated arborists on staff. That is a problem. So I did some research on the various diseases that oak trees can have. Most of them are related to funguses, and over again it says a comprehensive tree health care program with an arborist addressing the pruning and putting sealant on the cuts and everything could practically eliminate most of their problems. So limiting Titusville southern live oaks to 10, 20, 30 rule of thumb is not the answer to reducing pest and disease outbreaks in this long-lived canopy tree. What is needed is a professional arborist or an urban forester to manage these canopies for the city's urban forest. So yes, keep providing diversity, plant more than one thing in a given location, but don't have as a goal to limit live oak trees in Titusville. That's what this 10, 20, 30 policy is proposing, that they actually plant so as to limit the amount of live oaks that we already have. And I do not think that's a good idea. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kay. Member Delgado, your light's on?
No, sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything else? Are we done with the urban forest master plan? What do you guys want to do?
Wait for the next version.
You want to just table it? I need a motion. It's coming before city council, whether we table it or not.
Are we going to see the Liz's next version before it goes to the city council on the 9th, or will we all see it at the same time?
We can share it with you when we receive the version from her before it's published.
And then would it be advisable if we still see things that need to be addressed? Do you want us to come to the city council and present those, or just keep quiet and just let Liz do a presentation and then we can work on it behind the scenes, which is probably better than all of us showing up and going, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and we don't like this and we don't like that, so.
I understand. You can send us comments in a letter or an email. You can call us. We'll be happy to meet with you before this June 9th meeting to go over any concerns you may have or questions. Or you can show up at that June 9th meeting as well, individually, and bring your concerns or questions or suggestions to the city council. So outside of this meeting, we'll take whatever motions or recommendations you have as a collective body tonight and bring this to city council as a representation from TEC. But it certainly doesn't prevent you from going there individually and presenting any suggestions you may have. So it's we don't want to make a recommendation to you as to what to do, but these are your options. We would certainly like to take any kind of written comments from you if possible before that date. Because we would like to evaluate them and see how we can address them in any way.
And that would probably be a good idea if we just send their comments to you and then you can evaluate them and you can say at the city council meeting, well, we got the following suggestions from the TEC and I think that would be better than us showing up individually saying.
What we'll do is we'll take recommendations you have formally tonight and say those are the recommendations of the TEC. Any additional any suggestions you have or comments individually on the draft that we present to you or send to you, we can certainly share those with city council, but they will be your individual comments. We would like to share those with the consultant, so she's prepared to be able to have some kind of answers if possible before the June 9th meeting. That would be really helpful for her.
So I think that before we end the discussion on the forest, we should go over these two sheets of paper item by item and make sure that we're in agreement with staff's reply and the, the suggested edits and the consultant's replies. I think we should go over these, box by box and make sure, because that's going to be the basis of, the start for what you're going to say to the consultant. So I think we should spend more time on it rather than just.
All right. I'm game with that. You guys too? All right. So, item 1. Yeah, we already did that one. You understand the difference between, so in fact, we might want to put that that the species are in the tech manual. That it's select species from the tech manual. Yes, I know. I'm trying to move on to number 2 after we clarify number 1. It's another fishbone diagram. 1, then 2, then 3. Okay. Species diversity requirement. We talked about that.
We did, and I'm okay with staff's reply there. I mean, they're saying
I agree.
remove the thresholds and the mandatory language, so, but maintain the goal and importance of species diversity.
Yes.
Consistent, because it says, that species diversity rank high from the community survey, so I think this addresses all of that.
Okay. Any other comments on that before we move on? Okay. Back to stormwater credit. We've got to work this in here somehow.
Yeah, that one I think I actually pulled from Mary's worksheet list summary of asking why that was included, but I wasn't super clear on the exact
I had
changes.
asked for it a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
That's where I think it originated. And that's what prompted me to get this EPA document, this on stormwater, trees to stormwater, and how beneficial they are. And I just thought combining with what Vinnie did and what they showed in the COC meeting, that it's a philosophy change that we may want to adopt because it provides the lowest cost possible a way of dealing with excess stormwater.
So you're okay with leaving the stormwater credit requirement in the plan as is?
Yeah, I think we should leave us some kind of credit, yeah. I just don't know what that's going to look like yet.
There are all kinds of dry swales all over town that don't have a single tree anywhere near them. And there's so much opportunity where we could plant trees,
Well,
close to the
it's
dry
not just-
swales.
It's not just the
And
trees.
But
it's
you want to create more swales.
Okay,
And-
but understand that those wells are on private property. They're not on city property. The City of Titusville swell ordinance, if I understand it, says that you must retain a percentage of the water of your property on your property.
Yes.
And therefore, those wells are on private property. So,
We're talking about in the right-of-way, Hector.
okay, the swells in the right-of-way should be very clear that should be on the right-of-way.
Correct.
And then the tree issue is next on
Yes.
the right-of-way.
And the utilities issue in the
And
right-of-way.
utilities,
Right,
right,
because you
because
don't want
there
to
is-
be doing them where there's utilities.
Well, there's a utility corridor that's gonna happen no matter what,
That's right.
no matter what, trees or no trees,
Right.
it's gonna happen. Okay, then and part of it is electrical, part of it is cable now with fiber optic, and then,
Gas.
and then water and sewer and gas. And so that is part of that. But the swell issue is only on, if we're only dealing on city property, then it's a different issue than what was just discussed about. There are a lot of swells in the city, but none of them have trees. None of them have trees because the gardeners don't like them. It's as simple as that. It's hard to do a swell mowing the lawn. It's just hard. And so therefore, that's part of the issue. But that's a separate issue altogether. You know. So which one do we want to tackle? The public land or the private land? Because they're not the same.
No, they're not, but I think we can do both. I think we can do as defined in the utility lines, where there aren't utilities, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Where we have access from right-of-way. That's the only place that they were doing it in Indian Harbor. And they managed to find enough to store over 1 million gallons in relatively short order, just doing half of the available swales that they have. Well, you know, anyway, it's something to be considered. I think it's
No, I understand. I'm all good for it, but it also may mean better planning for the right of way. In other words,
right.
put a wider
Yeah.
satchel,
Well,
right of way,
there's another
in order to take care of trees.
exactly to leave a place to plant trees, because the way things are designed right now, we don't have enough space on private property to put oak trees. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody? Brad, how are we going to fix that?
Actually, there's very little room for any tree.
Yeah, I know. Even the crepe murders get a bad rap.
Even magnolias.
I mean, what you're talking about always sounds to me like it's a code change. So whatever your recommendation is, council accepted, we'll look into it.
Mary? Please come up to the microphone.
Mary Sparkogo. Lily just said that she drew that about the credit, like an extra credit for integrating, the stormwater with the tree planting. And my point last time was we need to put this in a separate ordinance or tech manual place, not in what is to be used by developers to in the tree ordinance to establish the required tree canopy area. So this is a separate thing that I had no clue why she was talking about extra credit. Now, maybe she's talking about like in the LID ordinance, something like that. That would certainly work.
Right.
And, okay, so that's, I think what we need to avoid is to be, smart, is not to mess with the historical tree ordinance unless you've got a real good reason for the urban forestry program.
We're not going to mention that ordinance.
Yeah, so be careful about that extra credit, And the other thing
I'm thinking not extra credit in the terms of they get a discount on their stormwater bill.
Oh.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. See, now
You put in a rain garden in our right of way, and you let us put some trees in there.
yeah, that's
and then,
fine.
yeah, we'll
That's
give you a
fine.
little discount on
See,
your stormwater.
that wouldn't be in the tree ordinance.
No, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Nobody's talking about
Yeah.
that.
Okay, sorry.
Don't talk about that.
And then on the back
Anyway,
page, there's a specific thing, that says create the separate urban forestry ordinance
Right.
in the future for
Yeah.
ordinance revision concepts rather than modifying the existing tree ordinance. So it's here.
That's good. And at 75, I would suggest that when you're talking about the 75% natives, you put the word minimum before 75%. I mean, I have a native yard, and I actually lost nothing. I was shocked that the last of the stuff came back during the freeze. So if you can just say minimum 75%, then they won't have to be looking at the technical manual where you got all these species and try to find 25% non-native.
Yeah, so with regards to species native requirement, we're back to that one again. In addition to select non-native species, as my buddy here likes to say, coming from the tech manual, we will add and recommend a minimum of 75% native, right?
Right.
Is everybody in agreement with that? Okay. Okay, got that one. And then,
I think Lily has extra copies, Mary, if you want a copy of that.
now we know who's hoarding.
Jonathan hasn't.
Yep, he's been holding out on you, Mary. We can share. So what's your druthers? What do we do? Discuss, motion, go home? What?
We have the back page.
Oh, we didn't finish that?
You're only halfway done.
Oh dear, thought I was there. I don't disagree with staff's recommendation on this one.
No, but could you also add, so you're encouraging future evaluation and consideration. Could there be incentives also added to that list of stuff? So encourages future evaluation, comma, consideration, comma, and incentives rather than prescriptive implementation.
What would those incentives look like?
I don't know, but we have incentives in our LID ordinance.
Maybe something like you suggested, Mike, a bioswale, planting trees, and
Something like that.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be that simple.
It sure can. You know, anything that gets deep-seated roots into the ground is going to help water penetrate deeper and, you know, so that also helps with carbon sequestration, which is something else we can put into our metrics.
I'd like to see the incentives put in there too.
Okay? That agreeable with everybody?
I wasn't agreeable with Brad and Lily.
And Brad and Lily?
Yeah, so it's just future evaluation, consideration, and incentives
And
rather
incentive.
than prescriptive implementation. And you're looking at incentives beyond stormwater, including carbon, other, et cetera.
Yeah, just as for instance, it was just off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's some other things that we can come up with. Okay. Next. Last. Hector?
Yes, the question I have on the penalties, is that during construction? Is that pre-construction? Or is that the life of where the tree is? I couldn't.
You're on a different page than us, right?
Yeah, he moved on.
Oh,
I-
we're not done with this.
We're not
first
done?
page
Okay,
yet, no.
I'll wait for that.
We have one more block,
Okay.
Okay,
which I'm okay with.
I'm okay with that block too.
yeah, I thought we had talked about
The
that.
length and number of
Yeah, yeah.
recommendations,
Right,
yeah. Are we okay with that? We move on?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Down there, you guys okay with, okay, then we're on to.
That's what I heard, yeah. Anyway,
So which side are we on now? Staff recommendations?
Sorry with the green on it.
Okay. Tree removal enforcement and penalties. I know in Tampa, they like to charge you a lot for trees that you take down if you don't have permission. Yeah,
in
most cities do.
Coral Gables,
So,
Florida, they make a lot of money out of it.
so do we not have any policy right now for,
Currently, unpermitted removal of trees goes to code enforcement. It's considered an irreparable fine, and under section 16209 Florida statutes, we're permitted to charge up to $5,000. Typically, we did 2 of these on Monday, actually, at the hearing. Typically, code's recommendation is to start at 5,000, and then the violator will go up and offer some sort of mitigating evidence if they have any. So the 2 cases from Monday, one resulted in a penalty of $2,500 and the other of $1,500.
I was thinking of that a mobile home park that was sold in Tampa, if I recall, 18 units. And when the guy bought it, the first thing he did was took down 29 live oak trees. And I think his bill was well over $250,000 because they charge him not just per tree, but also by the size of the tree at that breast height. And maybe we could look into doing something like that, make it more penalty oriented to remove them.
Under the statute, 5,000 is the maximum that code can charge per violation. It is kind of mixed whether or not code is bringing these per tree or if multiple trees are on the same property. If that's one violation, I've kind of seen that go both ways. So there could be some potential in clarifying per tree counts as one violation, 5,000 sought.
Yeah, each tree. They're separate beings, so.
One of the other things I've had on my list to start researching is also as a penalty, retroactively making them apply for a permit, because then the mitigation provisions would kick in. So, you know, if we get the money from the code penalty, that money goes into general fund, you don't get any new trees planted. But if you could find a way to retroactively make them apply for the permit, they might then have to undertake some mitigation, replanting,
That's
something like
smart.
that.
Put the money back in the tree fund.
Should go on the tree fund immediately. It's
mean-
like it's a violation. It's-
I mean, I realize code enforcement has a lot to oversee within the cities. There can be some coordination between the urban forester and code enforcement to make sure that these kinds of things are overseen consistently, because that's what I would see they're lacking. You
Yeah,
know,
once
that
they'll be in our
oversight.
tree inventory, right? We're gonna have a tree inventory.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden a tree is missing, you know, it's kind of like a star going out.
Yeah,
Where'd
it's-
it go? You know, it's.
I mean, I would look to our new urban forester to really kind of be the lead on that, and then use code enforcement as a backup.
I concur. Yeah.
Are you referring to a developer cutting down a tree without permission? Is that what
Thank
you're
you, Kate.
referring to?
I have no idea what.
The code provisions apply to any individual in the city, developer, resident, homeowner, anybody who removes a tree without a permit is subject to those provisions.
You can cut down a tree on your own property. You don't need a permit.
There is an exemption in Florida statutes for actively used residential properties if the homeowner obtains a letter from a certified arborist beforehand, but other than that, the city is permitted to require permits for any tree removal.
Do they require a permit to take down a tree on your home site? Don't think so.
I'm fairly certain the code does, yes.
I would certainly like to see that, because they're taking them down right and left of my neighborhood, and they don't have any permits.
Which is why I bring the point up to make sure that there's communication between the new urban forester and code enforcement, because I'm not so sure that code enforcement is always looking for that or even following up when that happens.
Yeah, I agree with Kay. I see it all over the place as far as trees coming down without permits, live oaks.
Brad, can you clarify that, please, Brad? Is there a law that says that a resident must have a permit?
Section 30-39 of the code says no person, organization, society, association, or corporation, or any agent or representative thereof, directly or indirectly, shall cut down, destroy, remove, or move, or effectively destroy through damaging any tree prior to the issuance of a permit by the city of Titusville, unless such removal is preempted by state or federal regulation.
Which, David has already mentioned of the state preemption on that. So they would have to clarify with a letter from an arborist stating that that tree can be removed or should be removed because of some issue related to it. If they can't do that, then they'll have to get a permit from the city.
Does that permit need to be, or the letter from the arborist need to be before the tree was taken down?
Yeah, they would have to get
So if he
evidence.
comes up
Can't
with a
do it
letter afterwards, it's not,
Yes, the preemption's located in section 163.045 Florida statutes. It says local government may not require a permit for pruning, trimming, or removal of a tree on a residential property if the property owner possesses documentation from an arborist certified by the ISA or Florida Licensed Landscape that the tree poses an unacceptable risk to persons or property.
okay.
But if the tree is healthy, they don't need a permit, do they?
They would, yes.
They still would need a permit.
Under section 30-39 of Code of Ordinances, yes.
39, I'll look it up.
Okay. Well, you have a reason to go meet your neighbor again.
Yeah, I've been there.
Well, you could imagine what our landscape trust fund would be today.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so how many of these cases a week from code enforcement do they go to legal? Like-
As far as the tree removal cases? I've been here since December and I've seen 3 of them.
Oh, okay,
May is on the job.
yeah, very well. Yeah, 3.
3, well,
Those things they found wrong?
The
Yeah.
code enforcement sent to legal.
sent to legal, three tree.
So when your neighbor cuts down a tree, you call code enforcement and they'll find them? Is what you're saying?
If they find probable cause of code violation, they may, yes.
Well, I'll be turning in my neighbors right and left.
It's unfortunate you can't do it anonymously anymore, Kay.
Oh, well, just bomb my house.
It does.
So how do I check to see if someone has a permit?
I'm not sure that those are publicly posted. I think building permits are, but I'm not sure about tree removal permits.
Yeah, it's public record. We can,
Public records, I can
so you're.
Google it or something?
We don't have that kind of capability up online, but if you have a specific property in mind, we can look up the record on that particular property to see what permits have been approved.
Well, on my street, four houses on my street cleared their trees completely off.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4 properties have no trees now at all on that property. Okay, so that means somebody gave 4 permits for this?
I don't know, sir. You have to ask us, tell us
I have
what
to look
addresses,
out.
and we can research those, yeah.
Do we contact code enforcement about such questions, or do we contact you directly? Who do the general public, who should they contact?
They can contact community development.
Community development?
Yeah.
Okay. So if your neighbors are knocking down trees, call community development. Yeah.
You can drive by and see it.
Did you want to continue with this, or you?
I love the view of the river I have now because they took down all the trees. So I thank them, but they're going to build a house there.
They're going to build a
And it blocked my view
McMansion
again.
there, and you will be able to see less of the river than you did before they took down the existing house and all the trees.
By 10 o'clock, you'll be able to see the sun.
Well, it depends if they go to the 10 or 15-story limit, then, it could be later in the day. All right, let's get back on topic. Anything else on tree removal?
I'm still trying to digest.
Okay. Member Nico, you have your light on?
Well, I just wanted to touch on this tree removal situation. I mean, I think it's really, really important because it's going on all the time, all around us. And I can't imagine that, you know, if the Landscape Trust Fund is not increasing exponentially, then these people aren't getting permits. And so in the new urban forestry management plan, I would really, and if I've said this already, I just want to emphasize, to have some kind of process in place to make sure that if there are any tree removals, that maybe the new urban forester would be the go-to person to communicate that.
Let me just clarify how the Urban Forest Trust Fund works. It's not, someone on a residential property or commercial property gets a permit to remove a tree, particularly if it's unsafe, and we issue that permit for them to remove it.
Okay.
They don't automatically go submit money into the trust fund.
Okay.
That's just paying for a permit.
Sure.
If trust fund works only when there's a development coming in and they have to clear out trees, we calculate what that caliper is, or that DBH is, whatever that measurement is. And then if they have to plant replacement trees or vegetation onto their property per landscape plan, if they are unable to accommodate, that difference is what's contributed to the trust fund. So it's related to development.
Correct. I understand this. But with the ensuing development going on here, I would imagine there are a lot of trees that have been long-standing that, you know, could conceivably stay there if the developer didn't remove them. So that's where we would be gaining more revenue in our trust fund for this, so.
I can't answer that. All I can say is that if they are meeting the code requirement, we have to issue a site development permit.
Do you have any kind of oversight with the people who are removing trees, the companies that are removing the trees?
We have oversight only as far as they submit, like a developer will have an engineer of record submit a site plan to us for review, and it will include most likely a landscape architect or an arborist or whoever professional they have on their staff or on their team to submit a landscape plan and a tree mitigation plan to us. We review that consistent with the code. If they are able to they're proposing to remove a certain number of trees, or types of trees, or size of trees, and they're able to do the replacement per the landscape code and then get a landscape plan approved with their site plan without having to mitigate anything, that's possible.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that my neighbor got a permit. He said that he's new, he just bought the house, and he didn't want his wife digging the leaves out of the swimming pool, so he killed the trees.
Member Burdette?
I know the size of the tree has been talked about quite a bit with the fines and such. Has there been any thought as to adding anything about historic value of a tree, such as if it's above a certain amount of age or has some sort of historical significance?
So you're talking about a tree designated as basically a landmark, a historic landmark?
Yeah.
Right? So we do have a process for that. We do not currently have any trees that are identified on the city's local register of historic resources. But there is a process to allow for that.
Okay.
But the consultant is recommending that, you know, you could base it on the diameter at breast height inches, which would cover big, huge trees. And she is recommending payment into the Landscape Trust Fund. So, you know, that could be something we could work on, you know.
Yeah.
Because right now, the fines just go into the general fund, is that right, David?
That's my understanding. All code enforcement penalties go into the general fund.
So where trees are concerned, we could recommend that those penalties go into the Landscape Trust Fund.
Yep, I would. That's a good recommendation. I see a lot of nodding heads. You want to make that as a motion?
It's in the consultant reply in the
Right.
top boxes. I mean,
Oh, do you want to tell them to?
Yeah, but it's not in the code.
It's not in the code, is right.
but this would be something that we would
And
work
it's not
on.
in the line item budget either.
Wait, so to clarify, you're keeping the consultant's recommendation as is to put that payment into the Landscape Trust Fund?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, if a tree comes down, then the recompense for it should go to the Landscape Trust Fund.
Not the general fund.
Right.
Can I ask a question about that?
Please get the microphone so they can hear you, because they can't hear you outside of here.
I have the tree ordinance in my hand, and so it says, section 3039, you have to have a permit. Okay, so my neighbor cut down 2 trees in the front of their house 3 months ago. Can I call code enforcement now? How soon do you have to call code enforcement? While the tree remover is there?
Ooh, the statute of limitations on trees.
Yes.
The statute limitations provisions are kind of strange with code enforcement actions because they're not technically legal proceedings. If you made a report, that would then be something that code would likely, with myself, discuss and decide whether we want to move forward with enforcement
Make
action.
a report, indeed.
Very good, Kay, thank you. Next item for discussion, and if there's no more on this one?
Yes.
Yes.
The $100 seems ridiculously low.
The $100?
Yeah, the $100
I-
fine. You know, it's 2026.
That's peanut change these days. What would you recommend?
$500?
That's all?
I would say 1,000, but
I'm kind of confused because, you know, we just heard that you can fine them up to $5,000 per tree.
That's it.
And yet the consultant is only recommending first a written warning followed by a $100 fine per tree and stop work authority.
thank you.
So is this for a developer that's doing this to a lot of trees? I'm not exactly sure what's going on here.
Can I make a recommendation on that?
Yeah.
Just a suggestion that you can call out this recommendation in the plan for the city to look into this separate fine that's related to tree removal
Right.
and look at the options for that. But keep it general enough for us to be able to look at all the options for you. If you put in an actual number or specific fine, whatever it is, then we have to find a way to justify it if and when it comes to that time when we start looking at it. And that is what we're narrowed to.
I see.
So my suggestion is to call out, ask council as part of this plan, that we look in the future to call out a separate fine specific to the tree removal.
Okay.
That's my only suggestion, but obviously the TC, you're good.
And a separate fine, and that funds go into the Landscape Trust Fund from those fines.
But as you mentioned, that those fines have already been determined at $2,000 for,
That, what David's referring to is a general code enforcement fine.
Right.
okay. All right,
That's
so
applied
you're
to any
thinking of
code
something
enforcement
specific to the trees.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
think that's what the consultant's suggesting.
All
Right.
right, I understand.
Pull that out, okay? Member Burdette?
It might also be good to look into, as it was said, updating the 100, but specifically looking into what the replacement cost for replanting whatever was removed. Specifically, what would cost to replace that?
Can we, well, okay, this is a good question for you, David. If we do a fine because they took a tree out and we tag them for $5,000, can we also require that they replace it?
So not pursuant to the code enforcement statutes, but code enforcement statutes are meant to be supplemental to any other penalties that the city might wish to enforce. So that's something we could look into. It's not prohibited, but I would have to look into specifics of how far we could go with that before it becomes outsized, that you're requiring both payment for mitigation that's,
Right.
you know,
Right, but maybe a balance
consummate
between the
with
two.
removal and 5,000, that you might get
Yeah.
into a little bit of, you know, kind of excessive fines issue there. But
Yeah, maybe put back a 6-inch tree or something to replace it and then the fine or something.
yeah, and as I mentioned before, that was also kind of why I have on my list to look into retroactive requiring the permit, because then
Okay.
that might require some mitigation such as that.
That sounds good. Anybody? Any other comments on tree removal? Shall we go on to public works capacity?
No, before we leave it.
Okay.
So where are we in that? Are we gonna do what Brad was saying? Let them take that out
Yes,
as a separate item?
yes. I think so. I think
And
we were
then
all in
deal, and
agreement.
then deal with A, B, C, D stuff like we're talking about? Is that what,
Yeah, that's what he suggested.
Right.
So,
Brad? Just an explanation for my sake. On the tree thing, I think you suggested that we take that aside, pull it out, and then treat it as a separate entity?
My suggestion is just reiterating what the consultant's kind of alluding to here, is that you should look into a fine rather, a tree removal fine that is specific to tree removal. Because right now, we just have a code
Correct.
enforcement fine was a generalized fine.
okay.
Correct. But also, I think the conversation went about replacement.
Replacement is interesting. You could use that as, the cost to replace a tree and plant a tree could be accounted for to help justify the actual fine.
Right.
So as we go through and figure out what that methodology would be is with that particular fine, that could be a good means of justifying what that is.
So would that be also be included in this new look?
You can, but I would recommend just keeping it open
Just
for us
keeping it
to
open.
call out a specific
Okay,
fine.
all right.
And we'll look at the options.
Okay, thank you, yeah. Okay.
All right. Next topic.
Lily, has the Public Works Director looked at this language that's in the green box, and is she okay with that?
Yeah, she,
Okay.
yep.
Yay.
Good.
Good job.
Thank you, Sandra.
Yes.
And on the other side, the online survey. These were the comments from the survey?
Yeah, I didn't really have suggestions or edits. I mean, some of these themes kind of bake themselves into the other line items, but I just put that in there as for your information.
Has this gone to the public for comment, or is it just us comments? The comment portion of it, has it gone out to the public?
No, I was working on it up until 15 minutes ago,
Okay.
or 15 minutes before the meeting started, sorry.
Are you planning on reaching out to the HOAs around the city, for instance, and
This plan calls for us to work with nonprofits and organizations, so to help implement the plan, we probably would be
Well,
reaching out.
I'm just thinking ahead,
Yeah.
because they do control their domain of trees within their fences.
Mhm.
And it could affect them, especially if we go the route of penalties and what have you.
To implement the plan, I could say, yes, we will be reaching out to the community.
All right. Inclusion, that's what I was going for.
This list here, is this, how many people responded to that survey?
10.
10?
10. Yeah. And I had also warned Member Miller that it was a short turnaround time. It was only up there for less than a week before I had to close it to be able to put it into consideration for the reviews that we were looking at earlier, for the actual consultant to come back and review. But I was able to capture the part where that's talking about, I didn't read any laws or fines about cutting trees. That's how the staff recommendation made its way to here, but I still had to do a considerable amount of back and forth between me and the consultant. That's why it hasn't gone out yet. But I'll put this in the agenda for next TEC, just so the public can see it.
Didn't we have a moon tree? Or are they overall at the Space Center?
Oh, what tree?
A moon tree. Seeds went around the moon, came back, yeah.
They do have, yes.
I didn't know if there was one here in Titusville or not.
What's a moon tree?
They take the seed up to the moon, the astronauts,
Okay.
and they bring it back down and they plant
Okay.
different trees.
I was just thinking if we had a historic tree, that might be one of them.
That's a national initiative.
Yeah.
There were moon trees
Right.
all over the nation.
Right,
You can
Well,
apply for that. We can apply as a city.
Yeah.
cool. Maybe we ought to.
All cities, we should.
So how do we do that? Who's gonna do it?
Well,
Can you please all make sure your microphones are on for discussion?
yeah, we can't hear you when your microphone's not on. The people out, you might want to say that again.
No, we're just discussing moon trees and how these national programs started. And these are seeds that go up to the moon and back down to earth and are planted. And I think it started in the 60s or 70s, but I'm not sure where it initiated, but I wouldn't be surprised
We
if
have a
it
couple of
started here in
memorial-
our little hometown,
We have
Titusville.
yeah, we have a couple of memorials that could use one.
Yeah, for
I would
sure.
think.
But that's something we can look into.
Should we make a motion that we be part of the next moon launch? Can we put that recommendation in?
That we participate in the
Yeah.
next moon tree launch.
Ross Foster's working on that.
Uh-huh. I know, I heard, that's where I got the idea from, was Roz. So I guess Lily's all up on that then, right?
I know they have them by the Sac 5. That's all I can tell you.
So what are we gonna do now that we've gone through our paperwork? What do you want to do with the landscape management plan? The urban forest plan?
Now I think we can table it until we see the next version. Because we did our job tonight and we went over all of the staff recommendations, the consultant. Unless somebody has additional comments that they want to make, I think we're done now.
I have just one thing I want to say. And just reading the comments, I know it's a small pool of people, but it does raise an interesting point about the 4 tree. I'm looking at number 3 and how the resident was concerned about having those trees removed from her property, his or her property, and it was not what she had wanted. I think just by having this commission and having this conversation and new urban forestry plan, and we're bringing more awareness to the citizens, our councils and staff and everybody. I don't know the specifics of the situation, but my hope and my comment is that with Public Works and whoever's responsible for going in and pruning and cleaning up these trees, that they would take more consideration in trying to save the tree rather than just cut it down. And I don't know the situation here, but with all of our conversations and efforts right now, I'm hoping that that would be the momentum our staff would begin to take if that was not happening. That's all. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. I think we would be remiss if we did not indicate our enthusiasm for this plan. And I think tabling it does not enhance that in any way. I think Brad's made it clear, and we've made clear to staff what we like, what we want to see changed, and I think we've pretty much hit them point by point already. I think we're on the same page. So the best thing I think to do, since we are, in my line of work, I call it OBE. We're overcome by events. We can't change the contract timeline. We can't change the presentation timing to suit us. And I think we should go forward with this. It would be my suggestion that we do. And that we, well, you still haven't gotten up to talk about this. Did you want to make a statement before we actually come to a vote or a?
Yes, I definitely recommend that you recommend to council that this go forward. I do. It's the best plan that we could possibly have. Yes, there's some details that could be worked out, but it's just above and beyond anything we ever expected. And if they will approve it and take the money from the Landscape Trust Fund for a forester or an arborist to start implementing it, that's what we want, you guys. What more could we ask for? This is it. Go for it. Please, proceed.
Well, we just have to tell them Kay said so.
I'm fine with that, I agree. But regarding the Landscape Trust Fund, we all know that it can be raided at any time by the city council. And so I think maybe part of our recommendation ought to be that the landscape trust fund money only be used for the urban forestry and to plant native trees in the city. I mean, otherwise, another $600,000, the whole $800,000 could be gone in a heartbeat if they decide they want to do another gateway project.
I would recommend we make that as a separate motion.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
But yes, so let's move forward with the landscape, urban landscape plan. I think it's wonderful. I agree with Kay. It's beyond what we expected. And what a fabulous thing for our city. But I think we need to try to get some protection in place for the landscape trust fund too, because if we're prudent with those funds, it could pay the salary for an urban forester for the whole 5 years that, we need to get the whole plan started.
So I'm hearing two motions over there. I'm hearing one for approval of the urban forest management plan and another for utilizing the landscape trust fund. No? You have a bit? Please, Hector, bring the
Okay,
words.
I go back to the basics. I think we should request that, yes, they pass, they approve the plan as written, with knowing that we would probably have some modifications as it matures a little bit.
Right.
The second part to that is the establishment of a line item in the budget by title, and is funded by the Urban Tree Fund. A direct funding source, Urban Tree Fund,
You mean the landscape trust fund?
Landscape Trust Fund. Whatever the right name is, it needs to be a line item that is created with that name, funded from that source of funding,
Initially,
okay, initially.
yes.
But if we don't get in now, 28, it's gonna be your next opening. You
Right.
need to get in now
Right.
and ask for that line item and ask for that first funding from that line item.
We already did that. I mean, we voted on that and that was unanimous.
No, but
We did that.
Yeah, but
But we have to protect the landscape trust fund to keep it from being
and
utilized
And
for
that is-
other things.
and that is the whole idea. If we have a line item, money can be moved. If you don't have a line item, we can vote all we want, and we will be outvoted. But if we move money, then it's up to them to try to go reach into that fund line item to take money out. And that is visibility that I don't think,
So you believe that by tying the landscape trust fund to a dedicated line item that's going to appear in the budget every year, that's enough protection?
right now, that's, I think, the best we can do. Yes. That's the classical way of trying to protect funding. Now, whether it works or not, that remains to be seen.
So let me see if I got the wording right so that we can eventually get this into some kind of a motion. I understand the first one, approve the UFMP. Second is to establish a line item in the budget initially paid out of the landscape trust fund. In the future, out, yes, initially, because eventually that's going to dry up. There's going to be no more lands with which to pull into that. So this is just an initial start.
And then every year during the budget cycle, everyone has a chance to say, I need 100,000 or I need 150,000, or I'm gonna have a tree-a-thon in the city and I'm gonna grow 100 trees. So then you can replenish that fund.
Isn't this fund being replenished annually through the Tree USA?
No,
It's
no,
not.
this fund is replenished when a developer comes and knocks down trees.
But can't we make it so that 2% per capita, like we talked earlier, make sure that that funding is directly funneled into the Landscape Trust Fund from the Tree USA program?
There is no money that comes to the Tree USA program.
So
It's
then-
not, it doesn't generate money.
So where's that $100,000 that we're talking about?
It's the shell game that the city plays every year by saying, we use $50,000 to cut down dead trees.
So we're not
there is
really
no
bringing in
funding.
$100,000 per capita, 2% per capita per
No,
resident?
they're counting the
Okay.
guys in
I didn't-
road
I
and
just need
bridge
to
that are
understand
not,
this.
that are clearing trees for the garbage truck. They're counting the guys that are pulling up the stuff that has fallen on the ground. And none of it is directly line item to this.
So moving forward, should we make that clear that that is a line item and that those funds are going to be specifically directed into the landscape trust fund?
That's
No
what-
longer be diverted or a shell item or whatever that term is. I don't, just to make sure that we have long-term funding annually. And
But there never was any funding for the Tree City USA. The $2 per capita.
Is a recommendation by.
There was never any money that came in. It's not a funding source.
so the 800,000 that sits in there now,
That's separate
that's
from the
from
$2
fines and-
capita.
From fines?
That's from
Okay.
fines from developers that
Over
clear
years,
cut trees.
over
all right, I
25
thought
years.
part of that was from the Tree USA, but that's
No.
not happening. And maybe that's what we need to correct.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to protect that fund, and
To protect-
Hector believes that by specifically adding the line item to the budget to be funded from the Landscape Trust Fund,
This
that should protect it. I disagree, but
I disagree too, but
What-
it'll
what would
only
protect
work
it
for
more?
this year.
What do you think could protect it?
No,
It needs to come out of the general fund, which is where the consultant said, which is where Tree City USA says. That's where the 100,000 is supposed to come from, is
Right.
the general fund
Okay.
to be used in this fashion.
So that's what we need to clear up then.
That's,
And make
yes, yes, exactly.
Right. All right.
nothing can happen unless you have a line item. If you do not own a line item.
Well, I think
you
it
own
offers
nothing.
more security than
You
to
own
not
nothing.
have it, for sure.
So therefore, you can request, because it's a request, that I'm gonna need this year 100,000. Then in the next budget cycle,
It'll be for consideration.
I request another budget.
It's already there, so
Okay.
you're reminded to bring
Right.
it forward and,
Yeah, yeah.
and then it
Okay.
recycles.
It's not for sure, it's not for
And that is how
certain.
this game is played. But you gotta have a place to put the money in, not just, I want 100,000 for
Right.
someone to work trees.
Sure.
That doesn't work that way.
No,
So, like I said, I think we should,
but we made that motion already
Yes.
to create a
but
line
part
item
of,
in the
part of
budget
this, part
annually.
of this thing is to have council approve this. Part of this is to create the line item. Part of it is fund the line item from that source.
Right.
And make it so that we can play in the budget cycle. this-
Annually.
Annually, that is going on now.
Whether it be from the general fund or we correct the Tree USA fund.
Call it what you want,
Yeah, whatever it is. I get it.
okay?
So, just to give you some history, when the Landscape Trust Fund was created years ago, when the developers started clear cutting for the subdivisions. And its original language said that it would be used for planting trees. Well, then the city council came along and they changed the language of the ordinance to include landscaping also. And so then they started doing these gateway projects and landscaping projects around the city, none of which we can point to right now and say, there's a landscape project that came from the Landscape Trust Fund that's still there,
A success.
a success. The city has had abject failure every time at maintaining these projects once they went into the ground. And a good example are the two projects, the two most recent projects that the city spent $660,000 from the Landscape Trust Fund. They wiped it out, basically, on landscaping at I-95 and Highway 50 and landscaping on I-95 at Garden Street, all of which froze but before it froze, it looked terrible because nobody came and weeded it or fertilized it or did anything, maintained it in any fashion. And
There's no
so
water. And I thought there was an irrigation plan in place for that.
No, no, no.
I don't even know if they had water going to it.
There was a guy with a hose.
Yeah, yeah.
I go by there.
No.
Yeah. So it's not a good use of the money to continue doing these gateway projects. But right now, there's no protection in the landscape trust fund because it has the language of it could be used for landscaping. And so the TEC has recommended that the landscaping part be removed from the ordinance and it just be used for planting trees, but the city council has never gone along with it. So as long as that language is in there about it being used for landscaping, it's under, it can be sabotaged at any time that the council chooses.
I'm encouraged by last night's decision to shelve the feasibility plan. And so hopefully we're moving in the right direction where these funds will be appropriated correctly.
All we did was stall it last night.
Remember Delgado? Remember
But
Young?
again, I go back, if you have a home for the money to be put in, and you put it inside the budget planning process, you have a better chance. Because now it has a label and a home.
Yeah, he's speaking like a senior manager, program management, that's 101.
I
You gotta
build-
have-
I build
That's what
cities.
these little budget line items are that he's talking about. So, yeah, it's clear that we need to establish a budget line item, and it's, if we're gonna go forward with this. So, shall we put that one down and vote on that first, and then we'll?
We
So,
voted on it already.
no, not establishing a line item in the budget initially paid out of the landscape trust fund.
Yes, we did.
I thought we did earlier, didn't we?
No, we specified
That's
that,
correct.
that the money was supposed to be set aside. That's what you have down?
Okay.
Well, we can be redundant. Department of Redundancy
I have a
Department.
question.
Yes, Bill.
Brad, when the one garbage truck comes by and picks up my garbage out of my garbage can, and the next day another truck comes by and picks up the leaves and limbs on the side of the road, is that part of my garbage bill? Who's paying the
Solid
second
waste.
truck to come and pick up leaves and limbs on the side of the road? Who pays for that?
I think you do get a solid waste bill.
Yes. It's in your
Solid
tax bill,
waste.
yeah.
So that's not coming out of these funds or anything? Them picking up that stuff?
No, even if it's your neighbor's trees.
Like yard waste being part of that fund, coming out of that fund, no. It's just solid waste.
That's right.
So what is the process for approaching the city manager and asking to have this line item added to this year's budget? Do we do it under petitions and requests at a city council meeting, at the next city council meeting?
You can, but you're, as a recommending body to city council, collectively, you can make a motion and make a recommendation directly to city council,
We did
who the
that.
city manager works for.
And so will that be on the agenda at the next city council meeting? And then we need to go and speak in favor of it?
Well, this is your recommendation as far as this urban forest plan, right? Helping implement it. So we would roll all of these recommendations into that agenda item that'll go before city council on June 9th when the presentation is given to them.
So guys, it's really, really important that you come to the city council meeting on June 9th to support the urban forestry plan and to support
The funding
the
of the.
funding of the urban forestry plan by creating a line item in the city's budget.
Brad,
Did the motion that we passed actually use the words line item?
What I jotted down was motion to request from city council to make a line item from landscape trust fund 2% per capita.
Okay, this one's different.
Yeah, maybe we need to take out the 2% capita. Because we tied it to the treatment, the Tree USA thing. I
Well,
think
that
we
was
need to
that was a
separate that.
minimum. That was just a minimum
It was a minimum,
requirement.
but I think we need to take that part out. Can we do a redo, or
We can-
how do we do this?
Who made that
David?
motion and who made the second, if we want to undo that?
Hector made the
To
motion.
revisit
I
a
think.
past motion, you'll have to unanimously vote to do so.
Member Nico, and then my Jack seconded.
Okay, figures. So do we all want to go back and make a motion to revisit this?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, it's unanimous. We're going back.
And then what you just reopened is you can either vote yes or no on that same motion. So if you would like to change it, you now have this motion repending before you. I would recommend voting it down and then proposing the new motion that you would like.
Or why not just make a amended motion?
Let's just
Just vote it down, start over? All right,
Vote it down and make it clean, yeah.
all right,
okay.
somebody make a motion.
I make a motion
The
that
question's
we,
pending before you right now, so it would, you would just do a roll call depending, the motion
Just do a
is
roll call?
open
Okay.
at the moment.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please, Lori.
Member Young,
Yes.
say no.
Say no to vote
No.
it down. You want to vote it down, you want to vote no, don't you? No.
Member Burdette,
No.
Member Delgado,
Say no.
Say no, Hector.
Member Nico,
No.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
No.
Member Rosa,
No.
Chairman Majek.
No. Okay, so now we're back to ground zero again, right? All right. So we want to establish a line item in the budget initially paid out of the landscape
No, not
trust fund.
initially. Permanently paid for. As long as that money's there, it should be permanently paid. Don't say initially.
Well, what happens when the money goes dry, when that fund
We
goes
worry
dry?
about that when it happens. Yes. If we can convince them not, if we can convince the council not to squander the landscape trust fund on gateway landscaping, shrubbery and flowers,
Can I bring to your attention something? The Urban Forest Master Plan actually has a landscape trust fund expenditure policy. It's going to create the policy. So I'm not sure that you need to do it
It's
because.
a question of how to initially fund it.
Initially
Right
fund.
now, the city manager in June, July, August, they're going to be setting the budget for next year.
Right.
We're not in that process yet, which means come next year, there's no money set aside for the forester. And then the next line item budget would be, again, this year, this time next year. And so 2028 is
Goes
when we
on
would be
and on.
starting. So
Yeah.
that's why we're wanting this particular one to be put in now so that it gets in the process, and the funds from it, or that will fund it, are funds that are already sitting in the landscape trust fund. They're there for this
Yes.
very purpose.
Use the landscape trust fund for an urban forester or arborist to get this thing started, yes.
For whatever's needed for the plan.
yeah, whatever's needed. And the money would come from the landscape trust fund. And so it doesn't, there's this, it should be easy for the city manager to approve it because there's $800,000 sitting there. It could last for several years. And then when the money starts getting low, then we start figuring out, where we'll get more money from.
Right, so not only we want to use that money for the forester or arborist, but we want to use it to plant trees. And there are also grants the same grant that we got the Urban Forest Management Plan gives grants for trees. And we know Lily's really good at getting grants. And so, but yes, let's use the $800,000 for the forester, arborist / and tree planting. And then if it runs out, then we get some grant money from Lily. Lily's good at grants.
Well, the landscape trust fund is going to give us the ability to go after grants because we have matching funding.
And there's good metrics in the urban forest management plan that will allow us to follow this through so that we know whether we're
It's a
doing it.
responsible use of the landscape trust fund. And also, planting canopy trees will last for beyond our lifetimes, whereas using the landscape trust fund to plant shrubs next to the road, we're lucky if they last a year. So it's a lot better use of the money.
Hector? I see your
Brad.
finger.
Question. In the city, who creates the line items for budget? Is it the department? Is it the council? Is it the city manager?
Well, I mean,
What's the hierarchy?
I mean, the finance department is the one
If
that
I-
manages.
Yeah, I'm coming down the bottom, and I need to go up.
the
So,
cor-
so who do I see first, if I wanted to put in for a line item? To be even considered by the city manager?
Are you, I'm sorry, sir, are you asking directly to speak to someone at City Hall, or are you talking about collectively as a commission making a recommendation? That goes to council,
No, that goes to council.
right?
Okay, should council say, yeah, okay, you can put in,
Then the city
line item.
manager will have to direct his staff to do that.
okay,
So council makes that call and makes that direction to the city manager.
so the city manager will have a staff that will create that account.
If that's what you're asking, yeah.
It goes
whatever
from
the-
us to council, and then council to city manager.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever the approval or the direction is from city council is what the city manager will have to implement.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the drive-through. What's the drive-through to get there?
The bonefish diagram,
Eventually, who do we see?
step by step. The council is where we go.
No, besides council. We gotta go to the next council.
Yeah, go to
Yes.
the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
We need a motion.
So we need a motion to establish a line item in the budget to pay for it out of the landscape, excuse me. We establish a line item in the budget for the urban forest management plan and been funded out of the landscape trust fund. That's what I need a motion for.
That's what we need council
So,
to approve.
Well-
John, go for it. No, you made the first motion.
Yes, we formally would like to make a line item in the budget to fund the urban forestry management plan through the landscape trust fund.
Perfect. Got that?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Got that one? I did. Again, just to be consistently inconsistent. Any other discussion? Let's have a roll call vote on this, please.
Member Burdette?
Yes.
Member Young?
Yes.
Member Delgado?
Yes.
Member Rosa?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson?
Yes.
Member Nico?
Yes.
Chairman Majek?
Yes. I should have also added that with the recommendation that Tree City USA,
No, no Tree City
that starts with the,
No.
okay,
It's clean the way it is now.
all right. All right, so does anybody want to recommend the urban forest master plan? I'm waiting for a motion.
I move we recommend the application and implementation of the present form of the urban forest management plan with corrections in the future, and right now for the city council to establish it and make it real. Is that the right wording?
Works for me.
Second.
Before you make your vote on that, we will take what we collectively heard from you and try to summarize that and present that to city council.
Yeah.
So I know there were some concerns and changes you wanted to see. We'll try to present that and make sure that it's in
We're trusting
what
you.
we can put in there based on the consultant's recommendations. Because she's going to make the call as to what she thinks is appropriate to present to city council.
Right.
Right, so with some of our input, but obviously we'll try and relay what we can, the message from you to city council at our presentation.
Okay.
There's a recommendation to approve.
Your formal recommendations by motion will definitely bring for city council as written.
Sure.
Okay.
Any discussion? Last chance. Let's have a roll call vote. Lori, please.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson?
Yes.
Member Young?
Yes.
Member Rosa?
Yes.
Member Delgado?
Yes.
Member Burdette?
Yes.
Member Nico?
Yes.
Chairman Majek?
Yes. Okay. That's encouraging. This is a wonderful plan. And it's a hell of a goal. And I hope we can implement it with gusto. I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you. Now, no, we have wetlands to finish up. Yes. oh,
Basketball
yes.
game starts in
No,
20 minutes.
No. Mary drove all the way from Cocoa just to help us finish up with our wetlands.
The last 2 days.
Oh, yes.
Flood warning.
Yes, well, we have more wetlands now to deal with. So we've only got 8 pages to go through.
I know it's getting late. Do you want to like set a little time limit, like
I'd like
8
to get, if
o'clock
we can
or
get done
something?
with it, I'd love to be done with it, because I'd like to tell the city council that we spent 4 extra meetings in January, February, March, and April.
Oh, we will not
on
get done
this.
with it. There's
So
no
what-
way.
What we're talking about tonight is just the stuff that's in red on the last few pages of
What?
our agenda?
No.
No?
No, it's
No.
something brand new.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, if you want to set, how much time do you want to give to this? Like,
I'm willing to go to 8:30 and
half,
see where we are.
is that what you want to do? Go to 8:30?
Let's get started, yeah.
All right, do you have the handouts? All right.
That's it. Let's get to work. Still have to look into that. This is what she sent in email, I believe. If you've seen her email, then you've seen this. Yes. Oh, I don't have that one. Well, here, pass it down. The whole thing? The whole thing. Yeah. Just take it as it comes. That I get to keep. Is this what she sent? What did she send before? Have that one. This one I haven't seen.
Who doesn't have a packet? Does she have one?
I think Kevin doesn't have the whole packet, and I don't think Lori has the whole packet.
I got one. Yeah.
3 things, right? 1 staple, 2 single.
Oh, I got 2, I ended up with 2 of these, so I think one packet.
I don't need these. I don't know if that helps.
We should have 3 things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
2 single sheets and 1 staple.
Yeah, that's the single one.
Well, Lori got some.
I know.
One called 166.033.
I have those and a couple of binders. Binder clips.
Hey, Brad? All right. Okay. So here's the deal. Lily found out some information yesterday, and she found out that there's a state law that preempts the city from requiring that an applicant for a development project have a permit for, or, approved consultation for listed species. And these last 2 papers I need to discuss because not being an attorney, with David, Brad, and Lily. So what I would like to ask you is, do you mind if we just postpone this until I get some legal guidance? And then also, there's certain policies that we're going to go through, and if I spot one that it kind of is dependent on this preemption, then I'll discuss that one. So we'll do most of this, and for just to make this very clear, the reason we're going to start here with the staple paper, which is conservation element objective 1.1 natural resources, is because this is the place in the conservation element where the language is that we will work with entities to support acquisition of wetlands. And we would not be going into this particular objective if it weren't for that. But that is part of the natural resources plan, and that's what we're tasked to do is put in some language about wetlands. So in order to put in the language about wetlands, in order to support entities that could acquire our large wetland system, we need to change the focus of the land acquisition policies in Objective 1.1 from all listed species focus to environmentally endangered land focus and the protection of wildlife. So if you can read the first part that's marked up. We went through most of this last time.
Right.
It's to ensure the preservation of environmentally endangered land and the protection of wildlife, particularly threatened and endangered species. Identify and conserve important natural resources and essential habitat where economically and environmentally feasible to prevent adverse alterations to these areas. Does that sound reasonable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked it.
Okay. Now, here's the one that Lily had to look into. This policy 1.1.1 says, identify state and federal listed wildlife species habitat, potential wildlife habitat and sites of listed species shall be depicted on a map by 2012, which will indicate the presence of state and federal listed wildlife species as per data, provided by FWC and Fish and Wildlife Service. I don't think that ever happened. Is that correct?
And it's beyond its suspense date by about, 13 years? 14 years?
If it hasn't happened, and we know that Fish and Wildlife Service has a way of identifying the habitat and presence of listed species very well. And I don't see the point in keeping it in the comp plan. And to top it off, the 2040 plan got rid of this policy as well.
Okay.
And so Lily was going to look into it. And since it didn't happen, that's my recommendation. I don't know how you feel about it, but if they haven't created a map which they're supposed to create by 2012, and now we have agencies which have all this information. Why should Titusville be creating this map?
I concur.
Does that sound reasonable?
That sounds good. Next.
All right.
Looks like 113.
Okay, what this policy 1.1.3 did was says that we'll cooperate with state in acquiring and conserving environmentally endangered land to be preserved through acquisition and/or regulations. What it was missing is, and also with Brevard County. In the Brevard County, their program is the EEL program. And I don't know if you caught it last time when Jason was talking about the Selection and Management Committee of the EEL program going to the 405 MAR property. That is the Lieberman property. That's what the county's looking at getting. Where they were gonna have these 8 apartment buildings and destroy 5.42 acres of a wetland rated 8, which was noted by the mayor and probably the highest that they'd seen. It was about 120 acre wetland. So, anyway, I don't, I assume you want to add with Brevard County.
Before you leave that, talking about the map, you said the map is available. So who in the city is responsible for getting that map?
What?
If we get rid of it, somebody's got to.
Okay, no, that map has not been created by the city.
No, I understand, but we're gonna. FWC is gonna give it to us, right? Or somebody.
Okay, what you need to do is, you need to go on the internet and find the site of the Jacksonville office of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And they use a consultant that is, or a company that is helping them implement their program, which identifies listed species, federal listed species. It says what to do about it. And then it goes into the consultation process. But all this is handled by Fish and Wildlife Service. And you could, I found out when I went on that site, the one that the consultants handle, it's pretty easy to find. They give some like slideshows and videos. You could yourself put in a practice file, and they give directions on how to do this, a shape file for the entire city of Titusville. And it would come back with the list of all the species that were federally listed. And I've had some major computer problems and printer problems lately, and I'm not as savvy with some of this computer stuff as some of you, but you can find out that information, and you know, I could email Lily and she could send it, you know, out about if you're interested in finding out what kind of listed species are here in Titusville, they got it. It's just that the city doesn't.
I appreciate that, and I used to work with those at work before. But who in the city looks into that?
Our department would most likely be doing it.
Okay, but do you do it today?
Can we do it today?
No, do you do it today?
I don't
I-
recall a map of this nature,
Okay.
but this is information that is open source and available.
No, it is
on-
open source. It's always been. FWC and the Army Corps of Engineers and others provide this information. It is just that, 1.1.1 gets taken out. And so my question is, how is this used in a piece of land that I'm gonna buy, and the city's gonna permit me to buy, to do something on that land? And do we look for blue jays? Do we look for gopher turtles? Do we look for,
We look for an environmental report from from the developer, when we receive an application for a development.
and where does that come from?
The applicant.
So is FWC provided or somebody like that?
The consultant that is for, what I mentioned earlier, when you get a site plan from an engineer of record,
yeah.
they'll have a sub-consultant or someone on their team to do landscaping and tree mitigation. They'll also have other consultants or specialists
Okay.
that are biologists, environmental specialists. They have to provide their own reports as well. Basically, using information that is open source, that is available records that they can search, and by site visit.
Okay, so you are dependent on them providing you that information from a laundry list of requirements for the property?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Back to 1.1.3?
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we include Brevard County as who we work with?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. 1.1.3.1. We made some changes.
Well, just continuing on with Hector's comments, I don't know if the city would be interested in using the U.S. Fish and Wildlife software. It would be a test item. You go under ECOS B, in finding out what listed species, federal listed species are in Titusville.
We do that, yeah. So depending on the project, we will verify the information that's provided to us.
Okay, have you done it for the whole city, though? I mean, because it said.
In other words,
to
have we
use
done
a
this
shape
map?
of the whole city.
Have we done this map, is what you're asking for, based on this policy or this objective?
Yeah, I mean, we're using not your data, but, like, would you be interested in doing the whole city to find out, for example, are there scrub jays here in the city? Using, a shape file of the city of Titusville.
Well, I mean, we do that when we get a site-specific request.
It's site-specific only. Okay. Okay, so it looks like but if anybody here, wants to try a little bit larger parcel, how about if I send you an email with the information and you can send it out?
Okay.
Okay, so strategy 1.1.3.1. Okay, so these are the environmentally endangered lands that we're talking about. And we had a discussion how to word number 2. Number 1 is the state and federal list of wildlife and estuary life species habitat. Number 2 is you wanted wetlands 5 acres or greater in size. That was your request. And Beth Ann wanted to say something about their respective watersheds. I don't know how you think this sounds, but basically it's what I did with your 2 recommendations is put them together. Wetlands 5 acres or greater in size and crucial adjoining portions of their respective watersheds. Does that sound reasonable for? Okay. And then we're following the same language that they had, natural lakes. That's what the comp plan says now. Now, you can see the new 4, 5, and 6.
And new 7.
David pointed out that there really wasn't a good definition of critical habitat in the definition section of the LDRs. So in number 7, it says critical or essential habitats. Critical habitat has a special meaning with regard to listed species. And essential habitat is something that they need, but for example, critical habitat has not been determined for the Florida scrub jay. And I don't think, the gopher tortoise is not a federally listed species. It's in the eastern part of the United States, only in the western part. And on that number 7, Lily had found out that the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council no longer retains their role as a clearinghouse for information about listed species.
That tells you how old this information is, how
Yeah.
long it's been since it's even been looked at.
So 7 would now say, if you think it's okay, critical or essential habitats for state and federally listed species and lands providing habitat connectivity. Because that is really important,
Yes, it is.
especially with regard to the scrub jay. They only fly so far. Okay, so here's a definition from the LDRs: critical habitat, threatened or endangered species, stated function. Well, that's a very poor thing, so that's why I included essential habitat.
That sounds good.
And then in number 7 said, we were talking about habitat corridors, and you had mentioned the Florida Wildlife Corridor. Well, it turns out that that's a little west of most of Titusville. And so,
But it has been in our sites for annexation in the past. So don't count that out.
so I'm putting habitat connectivity instead of Florida Wildlife Corridor.
That's a lot more general. It includes a lot more
I-
than specifically calling it overall.
Correct.
Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
If you have any objection, you better let me know. Okay. Now. This policy, 1.1.5, the owner / developer of development instead of, that should be property, isn't, that's a correction made in the 2040 plan, which I really went through with a fine tooth comb, try to, see what, because the 2040 plan with regard to the listed species is a good document for sure. Now, what I did in 1.1.6 was try to get it simplified and move the part about the environmental value of the land being prioritized, even what public use may be limited or inappropriate. I moved that down to 1.1.6.2. And then this policy is the one that David had pointed out, that in the first sentence, it says the city shall purchase. We need also to make sure that purchase is one thing, and we need to identify alternate methods of conserving the lands in another sentence, because easements, land donation, transfer of development rights, purchase of development right, those are not the purchase. I don't know if, when I look at this, I don't know if we need the word acquisition there. But if you can just read through, and David can read through and see if he thinks this sounds halfway decent. This was not easy to do.
I think it looks great, Mary.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
And it does have acquisition in there already.
Yeah.
It is redundant, but it doesn't matter.
I could
It's
get
good.
rid of acquisition. Okay, so David, you got the city shall purchase. Should we get rid of acquisition down in the second line from the end?
You've made it clear in the first sentence that
Right.
purchase properties identified as
Mentally endangered lands.
So having it in there again is redundant.
Yeah, I'm not sure about acquisition. One of the things that just strikes me as I'm looking at it now is the way it was kind of split up. It looks like the directive is to purchase only property, whereas I think before, the way it was written was it also included purchase of easements, purchase of transfer of development rights, which kind of is still included, but I would suggest moving purchase of easements into the purchase language as well. In addition to, I think as it's written now, it speaks kind of to the city granting them.
Do we purchase the easement, or is there any other way of getting that? Or,
I mean, the city could purchase easements, the city could be donated easements, can obtain a easement right just like it could full property rights.
Oh, so it would just be feasible properties, comma, easements, comma, and so forth. Easements generic, not.
I think, yeah, that would
Yeah.
work.
I agree with that one. That would work.
let me get a pencil here.
I think acquisition is okay because that infers you can acquire the property several other ways without purchasing it. So that kind of secures.
This was really difficult to figure out, I gotta say. Any comments would be greatly appreciated. And then what I'll do after all this is run this by, Brad, David, and Lily, and, they'll massage it again. But,
It also might be clearer, rather than having both unencumbered land donation and mitigation land donation, to just have land donation.
okay. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, I got that. Okay, so that second sentence, protection of environmentally endangered land can be, first of all, it said, the city shall also consider alternate methods of conserving these lands, because that's important. Mm-hmm. I remember, it was probably about 6 years ago that there was a property that had a person, was getting older and wanted to donate to the city. Well, the city wouldn't take it. Actually, in the EO program was interested in this too. And they didn't have the money at that time, so the city would have to take it for maybe a year or two and maintain it. And then the EO program would have the money to maintain it and could, assume it as one of their properties. Well, the city did not want to spend any money on maintaining this property, so, but it was one that could have been donated, And so, anyway, city shelter. Protection of environmentally endangered land can be accomplished through, and that second sentence I got, acquisition easements. Maybe should I put acquisition or just get rid of acquisition? Maybe it's confusing because we discussed purchase in the first sentence.
Well, I don't think acquisition necessarily requires expenditure of funds. You can acquire it through other
Okay,
means such
leave
as
that
donation.
then. Leave it, acquisition easements, land donation, transfer of development rights, purchase of development right, and other planning tools. Does that sound good? And like I said, I moved that sentence about, it is said that, selection criteria to be used in determining these properties shall place greater weight on the selection of lands which appear on the inventory of endangered or threatened species, even though public use and recreation may not be appropriate. I kind of took that thought and put it in strategy 1.6.2. Environmental value shall be prioritized even where public use may be limited or inappropriate. And that is a philosophy of the EO program. It's the environmental value first and public land as appropriate, public use as appropriate. So.
And suddenly we're on page 3.
Wait a minute, we got, you might be on page 3, but we got.
Are you trying to find the language for 1.1.6.2?
I'm saying that what I did was the protection of, instead of land, it says priorities shall be given to the acquisition and protection of land which I
would recommend just to say priority shall be given to lands which are identified as environmentally endangered and skip the given to the acquisition and protection of lands part.
Why would you want to take that
Out.
out?
Because I think that's assumed when you say are environmentally endangered, that's the whole reason for this strategy.
Leave acquisition and protection in there.
Wait a minute, where are you? Which policy are you on?
116.
1162.
Priority should be given to the acquisition.
So what now, John?
Well, the acquisition is what's confusing for me in this sentence, just because you're saying that they acquired it some other way besides purchasing. It doesn't, so I would say priority shall, I understand the protection part. Priority shall be given
Okay,
to
maybe
lands protected that are identified as environmentally endangered, because you don't know how you're acquiring that land, whether
Maybe
it's purchase or donation.
you could say acquisition.
But acquisition can cover buying it or getting it donated or
Okay.
any variety
Okay, all right.
of these things that we talked about in 1.1.6.
Maybe that's what I thought we were talking about, that John's talking about the last sentence. maybe we don't need that acquisition because
Regardless of how
we
you
could
acquired
say
it,
the
you want to still
protection
protect
of
it.
environmentally endangered lands can also be accomplished through, put the word also in there, also be accomplished through, and then get rid of acquisition. Because these are the ways that you would acquire it, is land donation, basically, or I don't know.
It shouldn't really matter how we acquired the land, it should just be protected because it has been identified as environmentally endangered. So anyway, it's splicing
I like
hairs,
the
but
to
whatever.
acquire and protect, actually. I think that makes a lot of sense.
The reason you want to put priority on the acquisition is so that it just doesn't linger in there. It doesn't linger on, and nothing happens.
Right.
Wait,
Okay, so
I can't hear
it's a
you.
budget issue. All that is a budget issue. You prioritize the acquisition of lands that are endangered. You don't put it on the back burner, you don't put it anywhere else on your budget list. You prioritize it.
It's
So
important.
So that's a budget line that says you're not gonna, your buying of endangered land has to have a priority
Right,
over,
that-
over
yeah.
some other stuff.
Yeah, that's in
That is the reason
1.1.6.2,
that is there.
yeah. Okay, so we're talking about two things at the moment. 1.1.6. I think, and then it's that last sentence in 1.1.6. The protection of environmentally endangered lands can,
I'm fine with having, I'm fine with
I'll tell you
leaving
what.
acquisition there.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say it enough times.
okay, so that kind of summarizes these two
That's right.
sentences. I'll tell you what, when we'll run this by staff and see what, if they like it. We'll just leave it as you had it, the protection of environmentally endangered lands can be accomplished through acquisition easements, land donation, transfer development rights, purchase of development rights, and other planning tools, and we'll see what they say because,
Right.
you know, you got to make sure you got it right. You can't just rush through things, right?
Well, you could use an article, the word "the" in front of acquisition, so that it's through the acquisition easements and so forth. That's the only edit I would make there.
We'll
You would
just,
also need of if you add the as a definite
That's
article.
true. Yes.
okay, I'll tell you what. We'll have something for you to vote on after I run this by staff.
Okay.
Next time. Okay, so now we're on 1.1.7, even though you thought you might be on page 3. This is one, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me because it says where acquisition of identified wildlife habitat is not fiscally possible, any public or private use of such land greater than 3 acres in an area shall require a management plan. This is the old language, separate. But what this means is if somebody owns some land and they got, gopher tortoises, they're going to do nothing with the burrows, or possibly they have scrub jays on it. What this says, any private use of such land, I mean, it's their land, and yet the city's asking them to create a management plan. That is a city requirement. It is not a FWC requirement. So that is, Lily, I know you looked into, what did you find?
Yeah, I think this is when our conversation about that preemption started happening. The management plan happens between the property owner and the regulating agency for the most part, with that post-2012 state law on the, like, for permitting purposes, when we talked.
Okay, so I know the management plan is something that must be a city requirement, and that FWC recognizes that the city has its requirements. This one, I suggest you just sit on and wait until we discuss this law. I'll discuss it with,
David.
the proper people,
Okay.
especially somebody who knows the more legal stuff.
That brings
Oh,
us.
yeah, and then I moved strategy 1.1.7.1 into the end of that policy 1.1.7. You'll see it's crossed out there. What did I do? Oh, I got it in two places.
Mhm.
Well, one of them's going to have to go. If we get rid of 1.1.7, which is what I thought we would do, okay? We'll see. But if we do, then that one strategy on the next page, 1.7.1. Oh, I know what I did. Sorry. I changed this policy 1.1.7. Forget what I said about it. I changed it to make sense to me.
Yeah,
I got rid of the management plan requirement.
right,
Right.
yeah.
And I used the wording from the 2040 plan, no less, which staff worked hard on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they got rid of the stuff about the management plan, for any use of public or private property greater than 3 acres in
Yeah, but you
size.
struck out the 3 acres.
Yeah, I got rid of, because okay, it says, where acquisition of identified wildlife habitat is not fiscally possible, any public or private use of such land shall be designed to minimize harm to the state and federal listed wildlife species in its habitat.
So it doesn't matter what size it is, if it's good wildlife habitat, the site plan should be designed to minimize harm.
This needs to be discussed with staff because any public or private use is just not clear. So we'll have this little conversation.
Also, with this one, I'm not entirely sure what work it's doing because the take, which is very broadly defined in federal law, harassment, harm, killing of any listed species, is already illegal at any extent. So, I mean, it's illegal to do any of this, so minimizing harm is you're just arriving where the law already places you.
Wait, what? Can
It
you
sounds
run
like
that
we
by
need to
again?
reduce some words. Yes, exactly.
What, you have a suggestion for that?
I don't at the moment. It's something I want to work
Discuss.
through, but
Okay,
yeah, that's just my
discuss.
initial impression looking at it is I'm not sure what work it's really doing because it's already federally and statewide illegal to
Right.
do any harm to any of these
Okay.
listed species.
So we'll,
So the only benefit that it had was dealing with a management plan,
Yeah.
which we're saying we don't really want or need. So,
so that will be discussed. That'll be an item to discuss.
well, if
See,
you-
this is why we're lucky we got an attorney now.
yes.
Yes,
Very thankful.
Yeah,
we appreciate you.
yes, we do, for sure. And then policy 1.1.8, they had a couple different abbreviations for Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, which handles the gopher tortoise. You know, it used to, they used to have the longer one, FFWCC, but they always go by FWC, so since,
That's what they got on their trucks,
you'll see, you know,
right on the door.
I'll have to see if that abbreviation is what they want. Because in the we'll just see what abbreviation they want. I'll put a big question mark, okay?
Yeah, because you could use it in 1.1.8.1 rather than spelling out all those words for FWC.
All right, 1.1.8.1 is TBD. That's what I got to discuss this law, which I'm so glad Lily found exactly where it was. But this is interesting. The thought is that that city's gonna, you know, cooperate with the FWC, like for the gopher tortoise and Fish and Wildlife Service. And then there's some strategies, you know, and first of all, the policy 1.1.8 says the city will work cooperatively with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission to protect and promote the recovery of species designated by these agencies as listed wildlife species. Very good. That's very good. And then strategy 1.1.8.1 is going to have to be discussed. And then strategy 1.1.8.2, the city shall consult with these agencies for technical consultation as appropriate. Well, I just put as appropriate because, you know, not sure when they would use that, but. And then the last one, strategy 1.1.8.3 is really interesting. Okay. The city shall cooperate with these agencies in locating potential introduction sites for the designated species. And you all wanted to get rid of on existing conservation land. Well, it turns out FWC, for the gopher tortoise, they are not just demanding that, you know, the introduction site be on conservation land. It can be on private land as well.
Yeah, there's all kinds of private
Yes.
landowners that
Yeah.
love to get money for relocating tortoises.
But if the city's supposed to be doing some acquisition for these lands, then the city could also be doing their own mitigation. They could create their own mitigation
Yeah, they
bank for
could.
gopher tortoises or scrub jays.
So you know, you were correct in allowing the potential introduction sites to be not only on the conservation land, but also on the private land.
Next, 1.1.9.
So 1.1.9, if you're getting rid of the management plans up in
Right.
1.1.7, why do you need 1.1.9? Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. How about if I put a big question mark? To be discussed. Ooh, it's getting late. It's a good thing we only have one more thing to do. Looks like. I'll put a question mark on 1.1.9. Okay? And I'll discuss it. 1.1.10, the city shall protect existing natural reservations, it says. Anyway, something's wrong with that. Including recreation and publicly protected conservation lands according to the strategies set forth in the recreation and open space element. That's a mistake. You don't want the recreation element telling you what to do with these environmentally sensitive lands. These are for protecting environmentally valuable lands, not for soccer fields. And I looked at the recreation and open space element, and I thought that was really an inappropriate policy. Okay? 1.1.10. This is something that they also have in the county plan. It's just that there's no good place to put this language. So they put it in under this particular objective. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to make a suggestion that we do not go on to the next objective because we have done enough. And we're really going to get into some complicated stuff with the next conservation.
Really? Complicated?
Yeah, I mean, the wetlands part of the conservation element.
Of course.
So, to be continued.
Okay.
We're making progress.
We'll need a motion to move the wetlands discussion to the next meeting.
I move that
second
we
that.
continue the wetlands discussion at the next meeting.
Okay.
And thank you, Mary. This is fabulous. This
That's
is
excellent work.
really, really good work. It fits right into, what we're trying to do with the 405 wetlands right now. I mean, it actually gives it meaning. Thank you.
Is there a second?
And I second that motion.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Good. On to new business. Seems we don't have any new business. Not today. Petitions and requests from the public? No? Good? Everybody's good. All right. Do You want a
I
petition?
asked Lily to send out a notification to all of you on the work that has been done at Cape Canaveral, the city of Cape Canaveral, in measuring noise.
Yes.
And I
Yes,
think
I
you
got
all
that.
got it. And I did that so that we could at least have a dialogue as to, we are the only city that faces the launch pads. They don't. We are the only cities that get the shock wave. They don't. But yet they're having Rollins College come in and take measurements. Well, because the citizens are worried.
Did the Extreme Rollins as an impartial organization?
Okay.
Well,
And
first they FT, Florida Tech,
For
they
what-
changed it.
for whatever reason, Rollins
I don't know
College,
why.
Rollins College is involved with
They won the bid.
they won the bid for the city of Cape Canaveral. So my take on that was to perhaps, you guys may want to think about trying to get some measurements put out throughout the city. We have tall buildings, 10 stories, plenty of them. We also have bookend bridges.
Yep.
That we can do that. And we have open areas looking at the river so we can see the shock wave coming.
Oh, yeah.
And so that will give us a good base as to what we're gonna see at the end of 2026.
And here.
It's not gonna be 27, so here's the schedule, guys. 2027, we're gonna have Artemis 3. But I have a feeling that depending how it goes on May 19th in Boca Chica with the new Starship version 3.
Yeah.
If it goes well, there'll be some acceleration of manufacturing that is gonna come here to try to get some version of Starship off on the pad at 39A, which is coming ready. And so we need to be able to lay out some kind of plan to measure locally what is the effect of that sound and shock wave to our citizens. So that was my purpose of doing that. Now, it was only information, it came from the Today newspaper, who was giving them some credit for worrying about it. But at the end of the day, we're the only ones that are right across the platforms.
Yeah.
No one else. So think about it and see if we want to promote perhaps some kind of process or method or financing or going to council and say, hey, would you guys be attuned to setting some measurements around the city, both by the river and inland, maybe west of 95 also, and start getting some data, because there'll be plenty of small launches available between now and then.
Yes.
The two big ones are going to be at the tail end of the year.
Do you know how much the city of Cape Canaveral had to pay Rollins
No,
to
ma'am,
do the
I do
study?
not.
I heard it was 15,000.
That's cheap.
Yeah, it's cheap.
That's cheap.
Yeah, it wasn't much at all.
And I can tell you that we have citizens that are very concerned.
Absolutely.
They already have pictures falling off the walls and
Well,
cracks
things are happening,
and windows breaking, and things are happening already, so
You ain't seen nothing yet.
15,000 is cheap.
It's very
to
cheap.
set up these monitors.
And so, like I said, just to get a dialogue among us and see what we want to take to council, if we want to take anything.
Did
Council.
anyone look at
I
the
think we should.
Do we have a copy of their proposal?
lawsuit,
No, we
the
do
actual
not have it.
lawsuits
How do we
from the
get
people
that?
in Texas?
Well, we would have to go to.
Brad sent that over. I don't know if anybody
Again, we would have to
saw
go to
that.
the city of Cape Canaveral and ask, and
Because I called Roland Collins today, this morning, I called them, trying to get a hold of the professor who was written in that article.
yeah, right?
And I couldn't get a hold of him, so I left a message on the answering machine to please call me about this, because I live next door. I didn't say I lived in Cape Canaveral, I said I live, next door to the launch pad, as close as can be, and can you call me? And that was this morning, so I haven't heard anything back.
In fairness, that, he might be doing something else. But I don't know if maybe Lily can look into the sustainability person at Cape Canaveral and see.
Yeah, can we get a copy of their
And see what they
proposal?
have.
If we know what their hardware is, we
Yeah,
can do
Zach
something
is
about
probably
this.
involved in this, isn't he? So maybe you can find out for us what's going on. I'm real, after I read that report on, we had seen on the roundtable the issue of sonic disturbance from Starship before, at least plotted. And then taking measurements that had happened out in Boca Chica, which of course haven't happened here yet. And the question is, if you applied the sonic and seismic data that was collected there to here, how would we fare?
Exactly.
And that's a really big unknown. The two pylons holding up the Max Brewer Bridge are facing that launch pad. They will take the full front-on brunt of any seismic shock that comes through. So will the other 10-story buildings that are on the water. And there's very little trees between us and them
Very
to
short
speak
ones.
of. Yeah, to attenuate that in any way. So that might be something that the city would really want to consider getting a study done, maybe having a grant to find out where we're going.
Right.
Because,
The FAA may have grants for that.
yeah,
You can see that seismic shock coming across the river
you
if
can
it's
see the
calm.
ripples. You can
I had a group of kayakers out during the John Glenn shuttle launch, and we were sitting due east of Haulover Canal, and the river was like a sheet of glass that day, and you could see the waves coming towards our kayaks, and then we were going like this. I mean, there literally is a big shock wave with
Even
those
with Falcon 9.
launches.
So who here lives on the river? Anybody here live on the river besides me?
I do.
You live on the river?
I do.
Okay.
I'm a block away.
You're a block away? Well, see, when they took down the trees across the street from me, now I feel everything.
Sure.
Before that, the trees blocked, that house and trees blocked.
Of course.
And so now when that launch came the other week, or the last month, there was 100 people across the street in that lot. But I could feel the dishes shake in our house.
They were not tall enough.
Huh?
They were not tall enough. You need
They
bigger
weren't
you need
people.
taller
Yeah,
people,
tall
taller people to block the sound, yeah.
Did everybody get the lawsuit, the actual lawsuit in Texas, though, that described all of the complaints from the people who are suing? Did
I
you see
read
that?
through it. I didn't see
Oh.
anything.
You did, okay. Well, I was reading through it, and people are describing the actual impact of these.
Right.
So I thought, this really sets the precedent and lays the ground for us to fight this, or to make sure it doesn't happen to
I believe we owe
us.
it to the citizens to at least look into it, and if we all agreed to promote some kind of study on the possible effects, because this is just the beginning of
Right.
launching the big rockets, guys. This is not a one and done,
Right.
okay? And so you're looking at a series of launches that are gonna be growing throughout next year, especially if they are successful with the Starship. And not to mention the other two Artemis that are coming along. So we have possibilities, but we need to start measuring.
Hector, that sounds an awful lot like a motion. Why don't you
Yeah.
make it one?
You
so
want a
that we
motion,
can-
and I'll second it?
And then we can go
Oh,
forward.
Make a motion that we look into the feasibility of obtaining data.
So this is a recommendation to council.
It's a recommendation to council to look at collecting data throughout the city when the launches are taking place.
And when the impact of the city.
Seismic and sonic?
Seismic and sonic, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I second it, because my house is there.
We'll come stand behind your house.
You'll stand behind my house?
Behind it.
Oh, then you can stand in the place of property that's
I just don't
got
want to be one of the people in front.
gasoline contamination.
Oh, dear.
So, is that,
Okay, so we have a
All in
motion
favor?
and a second.
Gasoline, there used to be a gas station.
Member Rosa?
Nobody can build there.
We have a second. Yep, all in favor?
Okay.
all right, thank you, guys.
Any other discussions?
That's the only new item I have.
I need a roll call vote, yes. This is a recommendation of council. All right,
Yes, recommendation.
all right, Lori.
Member Young,
Yes.
Member Burdette,
Yes.
Member Delgado,
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Thompson,
Yes.
Member Rosa,
Yes.
Member Nico,
Yes.
Chairman Majek.
Yes, I always go last. Well, that was a good start to member reports. Thank you. Anybody else care to have a report? Yes, Laura Lee, please.
So, on May 19th, which is next Tuesday, the county commission is going to be discussing the Save Our Indian River Lagoon referendum, to extend the half-penny sales tax for another 10 years. So if you're not doing anything, it's a morning meeting. The agenda is not up yet, so I don't know, I don't have an estimation of what time, but we need bodies in the room to support extending the half-penny sales tax. I'm pretty sure that it's going to go through, but to have a lot of support there would make it look even better. So that's coming up next Tuesday at the county commission meeting.
Excellent. Member Rosa?
Yes, I'm glad we shed some light on the permitting for tree removal. It's something that's been on my mind for 10 years. I've been watching, I've known about it and just seen a blind eye turn. So, Kay, thank you for acknowledging that. I'm glad you're on board.
Okay. Anybody else? Nothing to report? That brings us to future agenda items. More wetlands? Well, yeah, I already know wetlands are coming back. So I guess the UFMP is done. So that won't be coming back.
And Benny did respond as we were sitting in this meeting. He said he's out of the country and then we'll be coming back. He's looking at like after August.
Oh, that far. Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Won't be doing it next month.
not be next month. No. All right. Vinny Toronto, he did the presentation to the Sorrel Citizens Oversight Committee about adding swales to the city of Indian Harbor Beach. And the thing that struck me was the way he said, our city's flat like a plate and there's no place to put water. So that's why they made swales, because a bowl is easier to drink out of than it is a plate. So for soup. Anyway, so that was that.
I don't think we need any more agenda items for the next meeting because we've spent
We
a
need
lot
to
of
finish
time
this
on the
wetland
urban
stuff.
forest and we need to finish the wetlands, so.
Absolutely.
I vote no other agenda items at the next meeting.
No additional.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all Mary's show.
Well, Lily might come up with an agenda item.
If Lily comes up with something, then it's gonna be important and that'll be fine.
Of course it is. All right. Nothing else, then we're adjourned. Thank you for your time and effort, everybody.